In a world where magic is a divine right reserved exclusively for pristine noble bloodlines, one slumborn boy is about to shatter the ceiling. Meet Derek. He's got ice in his veins, a glowing blue mana blade, and absolutely zero respect for aristocratic entitlement. He isn't a refined scholar, he's a hardened, street-lethal mercenary who teaches through blood, sweat, and pure terror. When the continent's most powerful noble families run out of options to fix their failed, problem child daughters, they make a desperate gamble and hire him. But Derek's classroom isn't a lavish, sunlit study, it's the battlefield. From dodging point-blank fireballs to surviving monster-infested labyrinths, Derek drags pampered elites down into the mud to forge them into actual weapons. He's not just teaching magic, he's breaking their arrogance and rewriting the rules of high society. However, teaching commoner combat to highborn ladies comes with a deadly price. As Derek's terrifying results send shockwaves through the elite, jealous rivals and furious parents begin to circle, ready to erase the mercenary who dared to step above his station. When the monsters in the dark are no longer the deadliest threat in the room, a chilling question remains. Will Derek's brutal methods forge the greatest mages the Empire has ever seen? Or will the crushing weight of the aristocracy bury him first? Step into the arena, because the real training has only just begun.
Like and subscribe Zylos Manhwa for latest recaps. Also, let us know which story you'd like to see recapped next by dropping the title in the comments. Let's jump to the video!
We start in the slums of Avestem, a place where the sun might be out but the future is looking dim. It looks like your typical fantasy town, but for the people living here, every day is a struggle. First up is the local celebrity known as the Boastful Old Man. He is busy putting on a light show for the neighborhood kids, holding his hand high with a blue mana glow that looks way more impressive than it actually is. The people in the slums just call him a shabby old man, and they are not exactly wrong. Even though he walks around with a bucket like a common laborer, he's actually a one-star mage. In this world, that is the absolute bottom of the barrel. Despite his low rank, this guy has the ego of a king and constantly calls himself a grand mage. His temper is just as bad as his magic skills. Just look at him losing his mind on a bunch of kids just for playing some pranks. He is red-faced and screaming at a young boy with white hair who is just standing there, totally unfazed. This kid has the coldest eyes you have ever seen on someone that small, like he has already seen everything the world can throw at him. This is our protagonist, Derek, and he's clearly not impressed by the old man's tantrum. He has a look on his face that suggests he is way too old for this, despite being just a kid in ragged clothes. The two of them ended up forming a weird duo, huddled around a campfire at night. The old man just wanted someone to boss around, and Derek had his own reasons for sticking around. Derek stayed because he needed knowledge, pure and simple. He looks down with those intense red eyes, realizing that even a one-star fraud has something he can learn from. The seasons pass by in a flash, showing a snow-covered branch to signify the harsh winters they likely endured. Time does not wait for anyone, especially not for a kid trying to survive in the slums. Spring rolls back around with butterflies fluttering near a lush tree under a bright sun. It is a peaceful image, but we know the grind never stops for Derek. Out in a clearing, Derek is deep in training while the old man watches over him. You can see a faint blue glow around the kid, showing that he is actually starting to tap into that mana. He is on the ground, sweating and gasping for breath while mana swirls around him like a mini hurricane. You can tell he is pushing his young body to the absolute limit just to grasp the fundamentals. The old man looks on with a stunned expression, his jaw practically hitting the floor. He is thinking there is no way this kid is doing what he thinks he is doing, as he realizes he might have a prodigy on his hands. Derek's eyes are glowing with a fierce blue light as he focuses all his energy. He looks like a pint-sized menace right now, and honestly, you would not want to be on the receiving end of whatever he is cooking up. He thrusts his hand forward and a massive burst of blue mana explodes outward. It is a raw, violent display of power that definitely should not be coming from a beginner. A mana arrow streaks across the field, trailing light behind it as it homes in on its target. The old man just stands there in the background, probably regretting every time he yelled at this kid. The arrow slams into a solid rock wall with enough force to cause a massive impact. This is not just a one-star trick. This kid is putting some serious weight behind his magic. As the dust settles, the old man and Derek sit together under a tree, looking out at the horizon. It is a rare moment of quiet, but you can feel the shift in their dynamic now that the student is catching up. The old man looks tired and worn out, his face etched with wrinkles and a hint of sadness. He spent his whole life as a bottom-tier mage, and seeing Derek's talent probably hurts his pride just a little bit. Derek officially becomes a one-star mage in just a single year, which is absolutely insane. He looks straight at us with those piercing eyes, fully aware that he is just getting started. The old man starts ranting about the noble brats over in Ebelstein, who apparently reached 3-star status before they even hit puberty. To him, the world is rigged by bloodlines, and he is bitter about it. He takes a long swig from a bottle, clearly trying to drown his frustrations. He has that red, drunken flush on his face as he gets ready to drop some more wisdom on the kid. He leans in, telling Derek not to get cocky because his trash bloodline will never let him reach the heights of the true elite. He is basically telling the kid he has hit a ceiling before he has even tried to jump. Derek just sits there eating a piece of bread, completely ignoring the old man's drunken tirade. He has heard this speech about bloodlines 100 times, and he is not buying a word of it. The old man kept drilling that idea of an unbridgeable gap into Derek's head, probably because he was projecting his own failures. Derek looks down at the sleeping man, wondering if this guy ever truly tried to be more than a one-star. That night felt unusually long as Derek sat by the dying fire, watching the old man sleep. There is a heavy atmosphere here, like something is about to change forever. The next day, the heavens open up and it starts pouring rain over their campsite. It is a gloomy, oppressive scene that definitely signals bad news is on the way. Derek returns to find the old man lying face down in the mud, completely motionless. The reality hits him instantly. The man who taught him everything is dead. The old man's body was covered in bruises, looking like he had been used as a punching bag. Derek's expression is grim as he realizes this was not just a random accident. Someone did this. He starts digging a grave in the pouring rain, the shovel sinking deep into the wet earth. It is a lonely, miserable task for a kid, but he does not shed a single tear. The rumor was that the guards beat the old man to death, likely for no reason other than he was an easy target. Derek is shown dragging the body, a small figure against the harshness of the world. He finishes the burial, marking the spot with a simple wooden cross in the rain. He stands there alone, the only witness to the passing of the boastful old man. He wonders why a man with zero ambition would end up dying like that, beaten by the very system he warned Derek about. He looks down, his face shadowed by his hair, deep in thought. Suddenly, a blue status window flickers into existence right in front of his face. It is a classic system awakening, and it could not have come at a better time for our grieving protagonist. Despite the old man's warnings about noble blood, the system does not care about lineage. Derek stares at the screen, realizing that the rules he was told were a lie. The screen tells him he has awakened the fundamentals of magic and asks him to select a primary school. This is a massive turning point. His choice here is permanent and will define his entire future. 4 years fly by, and the town of Avestum is shown once again, but this time from a different perspective. Derek has grown up, and so has his reputation in the city. Meet Kataya Flameheart, a former lady of a fallen noble house who is now a mercenary. She looks sharp and confident, clearly someone you do not want to mess with. Born a noble and already a 3-star mage, Kataya was a hot commodity for every mercenary band in the area. The flag behind her looks tattered but proud, symbolizing her fallen status. She stayed tied to Ebelstein and eventually joined the Beldun mercenary band, where she met a young Derek. She took him under her wing, teaching him even though he was supposedly stuck at 1-star magic. Derek learned a ton from Kataya, who proved to be a much better teacher than the old man. Here they are sharing a book, with Derek looking much more mature and capable than before. The scene shifts to the Beldun's Tears Tavern at sunset, which seems to be the local hangout for the mercenary crew. It looks like a cozy spot, but you know business is always on the menu. Inside the tavern, Katia is giving Derek a lecture about a mage's desire for greater heights. She's sitting across from him, looking serious as she tries to guide his growth. She warns him that excessive greed will only slow him down, her expression softening just a bit. She clearly cares about the kid and does not want him to burn himself out. Derek takes the advice to heart, giving a simple acknowledgement while looking off to the side. He has always been the quiet type, but he is soaking up every word she says like a sponge. Now it is time for some practical application, as she tells him to close his eyes and feel his mana. She is watching him closely, ready to see what he is truly capable of. Derek focuses, imagining the flow of mana in his body and trying to shape it into a specific image. He is sweating, the blue aura flickering around him as he concentrates. Katia stands behind him, her hands glowing with her own mana as she assists in the process. She is surprised by how stable his control is, especially for someone his age. She realizes his innate mana is actually considerable, likely due to his extensive field experience. She is impressed, but she is also keeping a close eye on the output. Suddenly, the mana flares up violently, surrounding Derek in a bright blue light. It is a lot more power than they expected, and the look in his eyes says he is pushing into new territory. Katia's eyes widen in shock as she realizes what is happening. This is not just a simple training exercise anymore. Something big is about to go down. The tavern exterior shakes as a massive explosion ripples through the air. The locals outside are probably wondering if the place just blew up, or if the mercenaries are just having a particularly wild night. Inside, everyone is panicking, wondering what that noise was. One guy is shouting while another cowers in the background. It is pure chaos in the common room. Derek is shown gasping for air, clutching a small puff of smoke in his hands. He looks exhausted, but there is a certain satisfaction in his gaze. He just did something incredible. Kataya grabs his wrist, her face a mix of concern and disbelief. She addresses him as Master, but she is clearly the one in charge here, trying to make sense of the explosion he just caused. She tells him not to say a word and to follow her, leading him out of the main room before anyone can ask questions. She knows that revealing too much talent too fast can be dangerous. Outside, the other mercenaries are frantic, searching for the source of the explosion. Jaden, the captain, is leading the search, unaware that the culprit is walking right past him. Katya and Derek slip away into a side alley, keeping their heads down. They look like a couple of suspicious characters, but in this town, that is just a normal Tuesday. Derek calls out to her as Master, clearly confused by her sudden urgency. He does not realize yet just how big of a line he has crossed with his magic. She turns back to him, her face partially shadowed, looking very serious. She tells him to listen carefully to what she's about to say, because his life might depend on it. Derek gives a firm yes, looking her straight in the eye. He knows that when Kataya gets this serious, it is time to shut up and pay attention. She explains that nobles are extremely sensitive about their privileges, and magic is the greatest privilege of all. She is warning him that his talent is a direct threat to the status quo. She mentions that, while rare, some commoners do reach 3-star status, but it usually takes a lifetime of devotion. For a teenager to be this far along is practically unheard of. She gets right in his face, her expression intense as she reveals that the magic he just used was a 2-star illusion spell called Auditory Hallucination. Derek takes the news with his usual stoicism, but you can see a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He's officially leveled up, and the world just got a whole lot more complicated. The system confirms it. He now has access to 2-star magic and has acquired Auditory Hallucination. At the age of 14, he is already doing things most mages only dream of. After that, Katya continued to teach him, showing him various kinds of magic and telling him stories about the noble circles she used to belong to. It is a montage of training and bonding between the two. But as always, good things do not last, and after another year passed, Kataya had to leave. A carriage is waiting for her, signaling the end of their time together. Derek watches her go, a small suitcase by her side as she prepares to step back into the noble world. It is a bittersweet moment. He has lost his mentor, but he is finally ready to stand on his own. It turns out she was appointed as a private tutor by the house of Count Ovester, a family so powerful that even the Archduke of the capital has to show them respect. It was an offer she could not refuse. From her perspective, it was a blessing and a way to reclaim some of her lost status. She looks down at Derek one last time, probably wondering if she is leaving him ready for the world. Kataya left after gifting him a 2-star magic book, her final lesson to her star pupil. She waves goodbye with a smile, looking a lot more like a noble lady than a mercenary now. The system shows off his new magic list, which is getting pretty long. He has combat magic, transformation magic, mental magic, summoning, and detection. This kid is becoming a literal Swiss Army knife of spells. Another year passes, and we see Derek sitting alone, masterfully studying the book she left him. He has grown even more, looking leaner and more focused than ever. He mastered 2 more spells on his own, standing by the window as the sun sets. The 2-star book lies on the bed, a testament to his hard work and talent. At the age of 16, he is already a force to be reckoned with. He looks like a classic protagonist now, with the cool cloak and the eyes that warn you not to mess with him. We head back to the Belden's Tears Tavern where the atmosphere is lively. It seems like Derek is still working with the same mercenary band, even though he has clearly outgrown them. Jaden, the captain, is leaning over the bar with a huge grin, asking Derek what he thinks about their latest job. He is hyped because they finally landed a proper commission. Derek is sitting at the bar, looking tiny compared to the massive Jaden. He asks what kind of job it is with his usual deadpan expression, not sharing the captain's excitement just yet. Jaden reveals it is a commission from the Duplin Archducal House, which is a massive deal. Derek is skeptical, wondering why a family that big would ever need a low-tier mercenary band like theirs. Jaden does not care about the why. He just sees the gold coins. He is practically drooling over the idea of all that Duplain money. He grabs Derek by the cloak, telling him that if they just open a path with the Duplain family, their futures are set. He is thinking about the long-term connections, not just the quick payday. Derek just wants to know exactly what they want him to do. He is fixing his glove, looking ready for action, but he is still not entirely sold on this shady job. Jaden explains it is nothing special, just culling a few monsters on the outskirts of their territory. He makes it sound like a walk in the park, but in this world, nothing is ever that simple. Derek narrows his eyes, his intuition telling him something is off. A family as big as Duplain hiring mercenaries for a simple monster extermination, it does not add up. He decides he is not doing it and tells Jaden to find someone else as he heads for the door. Jaden is losing it, shouting for him to wait a second because he cannot afford to lose his star mage. Derek looks back one last time, telling him he does not take shady jobs. He has principles, which is a rare thing for a mercenary in this town. Jaden is practically pleading now, reminding him how scarce mages are in mercenary bands these days. He is desperate to keep Derek on the team for this big-ticket job. Derek stops, still thinking about why they would need a mage for just a few monsters. He is analyzing the situation from every angle, trying to figure out the real catch. Jaden shouts out to get Derek's attention back. He is pulling out all the stops now to convince the kid to stay. He slams a gold coin onto the bar as the advance payment. He has a smug look on his face, knowing that in this town, a gold coin speaks volumes. Derek stares at the coin, realizing just how much is at stake. Even for him, a gold coin is a massive amount of money for a simple job. He looks up and sees the clients for the first time. There is an older man with a monocle, a kind-looking woman, and a girl hidden under a blue hood. They definitely look like they belong in a mansion, not a tavern. Jaden introduces them, telling Derek to greet his new clients. The monocle guy, Dylan, does not look impressed, saying it will not do as soon as he sees Derek. Dylan goes on a rant about how Derek is just a child who has not even had a coming-of-age ceremony. He is insulted that they would send someone so young for a high-level commission. Jaden jumps in to defend him, insisting that Derek is the real deal and the most capable mage around. He is sweating a bit, clearly worried that the deal is about to fall through. The group stands together in a tense standoff, with Dylan still looking skeptical and the hooded girl watching quietly. It is a classic moment of being judged by appearances. The woman, Katerina, whispers something to Dylan, which seems to calm him down just a bit. The whispering adds to the secretive nature of the job. They all look over at Derek, who is just standing there with his usual blank expression. He's already sizing them up, probably wondering if he could take them all in a fight. Derek finally speaks up, suggesting they talk. He has decided to take the bait, but you can tell he is going to be keeping a very close eye on these nobles. The scene shifts to the Duplain Archducal territory, with lush green hills and a bright blue sky. It is a beautiful place, but we know what is hiding in the shadows. A goblin is shown flying through the air, clearly having just been hit by something very fast and very powerful. The fight is on. Derek is a blur of motion, his red eyes glowing as he slices through the air. He looks like a seasoned pro, moving with a grace that contradicts his young age. He lands a killing blow on a goblin, blood spraying as the monster falls. He is standing there looking totally unfazed, like he is just taking out the trash. Another goblin tries to sneak up on him from behind, screaming as it lunges with a knife. Derek does not even bother to look back. He has this covered. He ducks under the attack with perfect precision, the goblin's blade missing him by inches. His movements are so efficient that he looks almost bored with the fight. He stands over a pile of defeated goblins, looking completely clean despite the carnage. He looks like he is barely trying, and honestly, it is kind of terrifying. He unleashes a final burst of blue mana, likely some kind of area spell to clear the remaining monsters. The ground is literally crackling with energy around him. He turns back to the clients, calmly telling the magistrate that it is all finished. He is already over it, probably thinking about that gold coin he was promised. The clients look impressed, especially Dylan, who seems to have changed his tune about the child. The hooded girl is still watching him intently from the background. The hooded girl, Eleanor, gives a small smile, noting that he took care of them very quickly. She is finally showing some personality, and she seems to like what she sees. We head back to the Belden's Tears Tavern, where the job is officially wrapped up. The tavern looks the same as always, but things are about to get interesting. Suddenly, a blonde woman named Peeline slams into the room, accusing Derek of becoming a noble's dog. She is fuming and clearly has a bone to pick with our protagonist. Jaden tries to hold her back, telling her to quiet down because they have customers. She's ranting about how commoners should never serve nobles, no matter how poor they are. She leans in close to Derek, asking him how much they paid him to throw away his pride. This girl has absolutely zero filter. She's practically in his face now, her eyes blazing with anger. Derek just sits there, looking like he would rather be literally anywhere else right now. Jaden holds up a finger, jokingly asking if it was for 1 silver coin to play along with her outrage. He has a mischievous look in his eyes, like he is holding back a punchline. He shakes his head with a smug grin, letting the suspense build. He's enjoying this a little too much, clearly knowing what the real answer is. He finally drops the bomb that the pay was 1 gold coin. Pelline's entire attitude flips in a split second, her eyes turning into literal gold coins. The greed is real. Now she is the one shouting to be allowed to serve them too. She has completely forgotten about her pride as she begs for a piece of the action. The scene shifts to a shot of the dark, cloudy night sky, providing a brief moment of silence after all that shouting. It is a nice little palate cleanser before we dive back into the plot. Pelline is shown passed out on the bar, drooling and probably dreaming about mountains of gold. She is definitely the comic relief of this crew. Jaden and Derek are back to business, with Jaden pouring a drink and asking for the details. Derek tells him it was nothing special, just a few goblins, and that was it. Derek drops another bombshell, saying that all three of them were lying. He has that sharp, analytical look in his eyes again, proving he was paying attention to more than just the monsters. He is sitting there with his drink, looking deep in thought. He has realized that his clients were not who they claimed to be, and that is never a good sign in this business. He points out that the woman who claimed to be a scullery maid had hands that were way too clean for someone doing hard labor. It is a classic observation that shows just how observant he is. We get a flashback to her handing him something, and those hands are definitely manicured, not the hands of someone scrubbing floors. Derek is on the money here. He is thinking about the trainee inspector too, probably realizing that the monocle guy was also playing a part. He is putting the pieces together, and the picture is not pretty. He looks down, his expression hardening. He knows he is being played, but the question is, why? What do these high-ranking nobles want with a slum-born mercenary? Jaden tells him they are mercenaries and do not need to dig too deeply into who the client is. He is the type to take the money and run, but Derek is not so sure. Derek gives a simple yes, but you can tell he is not convinced. He is going to keep digging, whether Jaden likes it or not. Jaden continues his lecture, saying that in the wilds, survival is all that matters and everything else is irrelevant. He is trying to keep Derek focused on the paycheck, but our protagonist is already 10 steps ahead. The next day, we are back in the Duplin Archducal territory under a clear blue sky. It looks peaceful, but you can feel the tension building as they approach the next phase of the job. Derek and Jaden meet up with the clients again in a field. The goblins are gone, and it is time for the final payout. Derek is still keeping a very close eye on everyone. Dylan tells Jaden good work and starts talking about settling the remaining payment. He is back to his professional, aristocratic self, which only makes Derek more suspicious. He pulls out 2 more gold coins, and they are literally sparkling in the sunlight. This job is paying out way more than a simple monster hunt should. Jaden is losing it, patting Derek on the head and shouting about the 2 gold coins. He is the happiest man in the world right now, completely oblivious to the danger. Dylan clears his throat to get their attention back. He clearly has something else on his mind besides just paying them for the goblin hunt. He tells Derek that given how highly he regards his skills, he would like to entrust him with a new commission. This is it. The real reason they hired him in the first place. Derek just gives a confused response while Jaden still has his hands on his head. This is the first time we have seen him genuinely surprised. Dylan drops the mother of all bombshells. For this commission, the Archducal residence is offering 15 gold coins. Jaden's face is priceless. He has just seen heaven. Dylan asks if he will take it with a direct, piercing look. He's making an offer they literally cannot refuse, and he knows it. Derek stares back, his red eyes narrowed as he considers the offer. 15 gold coins is life-changing wealth, but it also comes with 15 gold coins worth of trouble. The scene shifts to a fancy carriage rattling down the road. It looks like they took the deal, and now they are heading straight into the lion's den. They arrive at the Duplin estate, and this place is huge. It has gardens, statues, and a massive palace that makes the tavern look like a shack. Derek and Jaden stand at the entrance, with Derek commenting that the house is impressive. Jaden is just standing there with his hands on his hips, probably thinking about how many gold coins he can fit in his pockets. Dylan turns back to them, dropping the act completely. He tells them they have already met once and asks them not to stand on ceremony. The servant mask is finally off. He introduces himself as Dylan, the chief steward of the Duplin Archducal estate. He apologizes for concealing his identity, but says it was necessary due to the nature of his duties. Jaden is sweating bullets, stammering about what he should even say. He has realized he was bossing around one of the most powerful non-nobles in the territory. Next, the woman is introduced as Katerina, the head maid of the residence. She has a kind smile, but we know she is just as sharp as Dylan. Jaden gives a formal apology for his late introduction, trying to salvage his reputation. He is bowing and looking very subservient now, which is a hilarious contrast to his usual tavern self. Derek is watching the hooded girl, thinking that they are all a bit higher ranked than he thought. He has realized that this is not just a simple job, it is a high-stakes political game. The girl takes a step forward, the mystery finally about to be revealed. Jaden realizes that if those two are the head staff, then the hooded person must be someone very important. His face is full of shock as the reality of the situation hits him. The girl starts to pull back her hood, her hair cascading down as she reveals her true face. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. Her hair is long and dark, fluttering in the breeze. It is a classic reveal shot that emphasizes her beauty and status. Derek just watches her with his usual calm expression, but you can see a hint of curiosity in his gaze. He is ready for whatever she is about to say. Meet Eleanor Duplain, the eldest daughter of the Duplain family. She looks every bit the noble lady, with a blue cloak and a confident, regal aura. The final realization hits Derek. He is not here for a monster hunt. He is here to be a noble lady's magic tutor. He looks genuinely stunned, realizing his life just got a whole lot more complicated. Welcome to the Grand Duchy of Duplain. This place is huge, looking like a fortress of high-class society where every single stone screams that they have more money than you. Inside, things are not exactly peaceful. We have a guy barging into the Duke's office like he owns the place, shouting for his father Valerian to look at what's happening. Meet Duke Valerian, the man in charge. He does not even look up from his desk, calmly telling his son Reich to behave himself with dignity while he continues writing. Reich is not having it. He shouts back that it is Yahello who needs to act with dignity, pointing at a crying maid who is standing right behind him. Look at this poor maid. She's absolutely terrified, tears streaming down her face. Whatever Yahello did, it clearly left a mark on the staff. Suddenly, a calm but commanding voice cuts through the noise. It is Iceland, the older sister, looking sharp and telling Reich to lower his voice because she and their father are talking. Reich does not care about his sister's authority. He's listing off the statistics, saying more than 10 servants quit just last month because Yahello smashes things the moment she gets annoyed. He leans right over the Duke's desk, demanding to know how long he is going to ignore that brat's behavior. The tension in this room is thick enough to cut with a sword. Aislinn stands up, her patience finally snapping. She screams her brother's name with enough force to echo through the entire estate. She gives him the ultimate cold stare, commanding him to stop and leave right now. You can tell she is the one who really keeps this family in line when things get messy. Reich just stands there, teeth grit in frustration. He clearly has more to say, but even he knows better than to push his sister too far. In the background, we see a glimpse of Yahello's blonde hair as she watches from the shadows. Reika starts to say that even if she is a troublemaker, something must be done. Aislinn gives a slight, knowing smile. She is probably thinking that as long as she is around to be the perfect daughter, Dila's mess does not matter as much to the family image. Reich keeps pushing, saying he thinks it is best if they just let Yahello go. He is done with the drama and wants the problem child out of the house for good. That finally gets the Duke's attention. He takes off his glasses, his eyes turning stone cold as he tells Reich that this is not for him to decide. Reich will not back down, suggesting they send her to a monastery instead of letting her be a burden on the family. He thinks dedicating her life to a higher power would be better than letting her cause more trouble. Suddenly, the Duke is right in front of him, grabbing Reich by the top of his head. It is a move that is half fatherly and half a warning that he will crush his son's skull if he speaks again. The Duke looms over his son, a dark, terrifying aura radiating from him. He repeats his warning with ice in his voice, reminding Reich that this is not his decision to make. Next thing we know, Reich is flat on the floor, looking like he has been through a blender. He is bleeding from his mouth and thinking about how some decisions just have to be made. The Duke stands there, his face shadowed and unreadable. He is clearly not a man you want to cross, even if you are his own flesh and blood. Switching gears, Aislinn is walking through the estate with Derek following close behind. They look like a very odd pair, the high noble lady and the silent mercenary. She asks Derek if he has ever heard of her younger sister, Yahello. Derek, always the researcher, notes that he has seen her name listed in the official family register. Aislinn's expression turns dark as she admits that Yahello is not well known to the public. There are a lot of secrets hidden in those fancy hallways, and Yahello is clearly one of them. They reach a set of massive, ornate doors that swing open with a heavy thud. This is the inner sanctum of the estate. Aislinn calls out to her brother as they enter the room. We see the other brother standing there, but wait, there is Reich in the background looking worse for wear? The other blonde brother greets Aislinn with a pleasant smile, asking her how life has been back in Ebelstein. He seems a lot more approachable than Reich, that is for sure. Aislinn gives him a polite, noble smile. She is a master of keeping up appearances, no matter how much family drama is happening behind the scenes. Reich is right there with a massive bandage on his head, looking absolutely miserable. The older brother suggests they catch up later, sensing the awkward vibe. Derek's red eye peeks through his hair as he watches the interaction. He is like a human lie detector, soaking in every detail of this dysfunctional family dynamic. The two brothers walk away, Reich still nursing his head wound. It is clear that the decision the Duke made earlier was a very physical one. Derek narrows his eyes, his gaze sharp and focused. He's not just here for a paycheck. He is trying to figure out exactly what kind of mess he has walked into. He spots a maid crying in the hallway, looking just like the one from before. It seems Yahello's reign of terror is a constant theme in this wing of the house. Derek's face is set in a serious line. He has seen enough of the world's cruelty to know that a spoiled brat can be just as dangerous as a monster in the woods. Back in the main office, the dupe tells Aislinn he is glad to hear she is doing well. He is still at his desk, back to being the cool, collected ruler of the house. We get a top-down view of the office as Aislinn and Derek sit on the fancy couches. It is a very formal setting for a very unconventional meeting. Aislinn officially introduces Derek as the magic teacher she brought from Ebelstein. She is giving him a lot of credit, even with the Duke watching him like a hawk. The Duke peers over his glasses, a skeptical hum escaping his lips. He is sizing up the boy who is supposed to teach his difficult daughter. Aislinn decides to end the meeting early, noting that her father is busy. She is always mindful of his time and her own standing in his eyes. As they turn to leave, the Duke's voice stops them cold. He points directly at Derek and tells him to stay behind. This could be a big mistake or a big opportunity. Derek stops in his tracks, looking back with a blank expression. He is not scared, but he is definitely on high alert now. The massive window of the office shows the clear sky outside, a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere inside. The world keeps turning, regardless of noble power plays. The Duke goes back to writing, the sound of the quill on parchment the only noise in the room. He's a man who lives by the weight of his words. He notes that Derek is quite young, specifically 16 years old. In the world of mages, that is practically a newborn if you are trying to claim you are a teacher. Derek gives a respectful confirmation while sitting stiffly on the edge of the couch. He is playing the part of the respectful commoner for now. The Duke asks the million-dollar question about how skilled he is in magic. Derek plays it humble, claiming he can only use some first circle spells. The Duke actually starts laughing, which is never a good sign from a guy like him. He adjusts his glasses, his smile looking more like a shark's than a friendly greeting. The laughter stops instantly. He stares Derek down, his face turning deadly serious as he tells him there is no need to lie. Derek just stays silent, those red eyes staring back without a hint of fear. He knows better than to blurt out more lies when he has already been caught. Suddenly, the room is flooded with a terrifying blue mana. The Duke reveals his true power as a 5-star mage, telling Derek that modesty will not work on someone of his rank. Derek bows his head, apologizing if he was disrespectful. The Duke calms down, noting that exceptional talent can end up harming its own master if not handled correctly. The Duke checks his watch, saying that judging by Derek's age and attire, he does not exactly look like a suitable tutor for a noble family like Duplain. Derek looks him in the eye and simply states that he is a mercenary. He is not a noble or a scholar. He is a man who gets the job done for the right price. The Duke accepts that. Since Aislinn chose him, he will not object, and he grants Derek access to the annex where Dila resides. It is officially a green light. Derek gets up to leave, but stops and asks if he can ask one thing before he goes. He has one more thing he needs to clear up before he enters the lion's den. The Duke gives a simple command to speak, looking down at his desk. He has already moved on to his next task, but he is still listening. Derek states his personal code that any job he accepts, he completes without fail. He mentions that Lady Aislinn gave him a specific request regarding her sister. In the wide shot of the office, Derek looks small compared to the Duke's massive desk. He explains that his goal is to help Dila properly enter noble society. The Duke looks up, unimpressed. He asks why he is stating the obvious, since that is just part of the job description. Derek leans in, his face serious. He says that because of this, he has a sincere request. He's about to ask for something that might change the rules of the game. The Duke just gives a confused look. He was not expecting a commoner mercenary to have any requests for a man of his stature. Suddenly, a plate comes flying through the air with a high-pitched whistle. Someone is throwing a major tantrum in the other room. The plate smashes into pieces against the wall right next to a cowering maid. She screams as porcelain shards fly everywhere. The maid is on her knees, desperately apologizing to Lady Dila. Dila's red dress is visible as she walks away, asking coldly if an apology is supposed to change anything. The maid is left trembling on the floor, her eyes wide with fear. This is just another day at work in the Dila annex. A calm cup of tea is shown, a weirdly peaceful contrast to the violence we just saw. Aislinn asks why they chose Derek of all people. Aislinn is talking with Jaden in a private room. She notes that in a family like Duplain, mages should be lining up to teach, and a commoner like Derek is a very strange choice for a tutor. She looks down sadly, admitting that they have already tried nearly every famous magic instructor on the continent. They all gave up on Yahello, making the family desperate enough to look for anyone. Jaden explains that while Derek was a mercenary, he is familiar with noble manners because his former master was a fallen noble. He is more refined than he looks. Aislinn smiles slightly, agreeing that for a mercenary, Derek feels surprisingly refined and sincere. She seems to genuinely trust him, which is a big deal. Jaden gives her a warning that she needs to learn to read people better. He has known Derek longer and knows there is a lot more to him than refinement. He explains that Derek grew up on the streets and worked as a mercenary long before he was an adult. He tells her that refinement and kindness alone are not how you survive in that world. Aislinn stares back with those striking blue eyes, clearly processing what Jaden said. She's beginning to realize that Derek might be a lot more dangerous than she initially thought. Derek is shown walking down the fancy hallways, led by the steward and a maid. He looks like a tiny, dark shadow moving through all that white and gold opulence. They stop at a set of large, imposing doors. This is it, the room where Diella is waiting to tear her next tutor to pieces. Derek's gloved hand reaches out, moving slowly and deliberately. He knows what he is walking into, and he is ready for the challenge. He gives a firm knock on the door. It is a simple gesture, but it is the opening bell for the main event. He pauses for just a second, staring at the door with his expressionless face. He's taking a final breath of calm before the chaos begins. He grabs the handle and turns it. The door opens with a slight creak, revealing the lavish interior of the second daughter's room. He steps inside and gives a polite greeting. He is maintaining his polite tutor persona for now, but he is already scanning the room for threats. He introduces himself and asks for her to excuse the intrusion. Diella is sitting in a chair facing away from him, her long blonde hair visible against the window light. We get a shot of her from the back, sitting regally in her chair. This is Diella Duplain, the problem child who has sent 10 servants packing in a single month. Derek walks closer, his steps quiet on the plush carpet. Diella remains motionless, a mysterious figure in the middle of the room. The camera zooms in on her face, showing a wicked smirk. She definitely has something nasty planned for the new guy. Suddenly, a massive splash of water hits Derek right in the face. It is a classic, childish prank, but in this house, it is probably one of her milder moves. Derek is absolutely soaked, water dripping from his white hair and down his face. He does not move, just stands there taking it like a stone statue. Diella stands up and starts laughing, mocking him and asking what they have here. She looks absolutely delighted with herself, like a cat that just caught a very wet mouse. She walks around him, calling him a rat and asking if he is the mercenary the butler mentioned. She is already treating him like he is lower than the dirt on her shoes. She leans on a chair, giving him a smug look. She thinks she has already won this battle, unaware that Derek is not the kind of tutor she is used to. She steps right up onto a small table next to him, showing zero respect for the furniture or the person standing in front of her. She pours another entire bucket of water over his head, this one apparently being sewer water. She tells him it suits him much better while laughing in his face. Water drips from Derek's chin as he remains motionless. The sound of dripping highlights the humiliating silence in the room. Diella stands on the table, empty bucket in hand, looking down at him like she has just finished a fun little game. She mocks him by saying the water is all gone. Derek slowly looks up, his red eye piercing through his wet hair. The look he is giving her is enough to freeze boiling water. It is pure, cold fury. Diella's smug grin vanishes instantly, replaced by a look of genuine shock and confusion. She's never seen someone react to her bullying with such a terrifying gaze. Derek suddenly reaches out and grabs her by the foot. She screams at him not to dare look at her like that, but she has already lost her balance. He gives her leg a sharp pull and she starts to topple over. He is not playing the respectful tutor anymore. The mercenary has taken over. She falls backwards with a heavy thud, letting out a pained groan. This brat just got a very physical lesson in gravity. Diella is sitting on the floor, holding her nose and complaining about the stink from the water she poured on him. She looks pathetic and completely out of her element now. Derek looms over her, his expression absolutely terrifying. He does not care that she is a noble lady. In his world, you get what you give. Diella cringes back against the table, her arrogance replaced by pure fear. She has realized that for the first time in her life, she's picked a fight with someone who will actually hit back. She tries to maintain her noble pride from the floor, asking how someone like him could possibly teach her. She insults his street manners, still trying to use her status as a shield. The scene shifts back to the Duke's office, specifically the books and documents on his desk. It is a moment of calm before we see what Derek was actually requesting. The Duke is standing by the window, looking out over his territory. He is a man who has seen it all, but Derek is a new kind of variable in his house. He looks contemplative, his hand on his chin. He is probably wondering if he has made a massive mistake or a brilliant move by letting Derek near his daughter. We get a flashback of Derek sitting in the office, noting that Diella's situation has not been resolved easily. He knows exactly why he is here, to fix what no one else could. Derek stares the Duke down, asking the crucial question about how far he will be allowed to go when it comes to teaching Lady Diella. This is the sincere request he mentioned. The Duke gives a serious, unblinking look. He has realized that Derek is not going to follow the usual rules of noble tutoring, and he is okay with that. Back in the annex, Diella has a massive red handprint on her cheek, her face flushed with a mix of shock and anger. Derek actually slapped her. She is crumpled on the floor, looking up at Derek, who is standing over her with his back turned. He is already done with the punishment and is ready to start the lesson. Dila is trembling, her eyes wide as she stares at the boy who just broke the most sacred rule of her world. She is completely broken and terrified. She clutches her red cheek, her mouth open in a silent state of disbelief. The reality of her new life is finally sinking in. Derek gives her one last, scary look over his shoulder, his red eye glowing with a predatory light. He is the boss now, and she knows it. He looms over her, a massive shadow against the room's light, and gives her a single, cold command to get up. The real training starts now. We jump back to 3 years ago, into a flashback that explains why Derek is so cold-blooded. This was during his early training days, long before he arrived at the Duplain estate. A simple horse-drawn carriage is traveling through a lush, green landscape under a bright blue sky. It is a peaceful scene, but the conversation happening inside is anything but calm. Young Derek is sitting with his master, Katya, and he asks her what she would do if she had to teach a student who was stubborn and ungrateful. He is clearly trying to figure out how to handle difficult people. Katya ponders the question, looking off into the distance. She gives him the standard teacher answer, saying she would try to understand them, embrace them, and guide them gently. Derek is not buying it for a second. He looks down with those intense red eyes, calling her out for being too idealistic. He wants to know what happens when kindness just is not enough to reach someone. Katya's expression hardens as she gives him the real-world answer. She tells him that if understanding and compassion do not work, then he needs to start from a completely different place. She looks him right in the eye, her face shadowed and intense. Her ultimate lesson is that you must imprint fear. This is exactly where Derek got his tough love philosophy from. Back in the present, Dila is on the floor, clutching her red cheek in pure shock. Derek actually slaps the highborn attitude right out of her, and she's looking at him like he is a literal demon. Derek stands tall and tells her to treat others with respect and consideration, his voice as cold as ice. He gives her a final warning that he does not repeat himself and orders her to get up. Dila is on all fours, her hands trembling against the floor. She is completely broken and humiliated, probably for the first time in her pampered life. Suddenly, Dila snaps and tries to swing at him. It is a desperate, angry move, but Derek is already 3 steps ahead of her temper tantrum. She is screaming in his face, asking who he thinks he is and how he dares to lay a hand on her. Her eyes are wide with a mix of fury and disbelief as she tries to reclaim her status. Derek hits her again, his movement a blur of speed and precision. He is not here to play games. He is here to break her stubborn will. He looms over her with those glowing red eyes, repeating the same line about treating others with respect and consideration. He is basically brainwashing her into being a decent human being. Dila stares up at him, her pupils shrinking in terror. She has finally realized that her noble blood means absolutely nothing to this low-born mercenary. She starts screaming for the butler, pointing a shaking finger at Derek and yelling about how this commoner is hitting her. She's trying to call in the reinforcements because she cannot handle him on her own. The head butler and a couple of maids burst into the room, looking absolutely horrified at the scene. They were not expecting to walk into a domestic war zone. The butler is losing his mind, demanding to know what Derek thinks he's doing. He warns him that if the Duke finds out he laid a hand on a noble lady, he's as good as dead. Derek does not even flinch. He calmly reaches into his cloak and pulls out a rolled-up scroll. He has the ultimate trump card and he's about to play it. He holds up the official document, revealing that the Archduke has granted him full authority over Diela's education. He tells the butler that whatever methods he chooses are officially authorized. The butler reads the scroll, his face going pale as he realizes his hands are tied. He is stammering in shock as the reality of Derek's power sinks in. Dila looks at the document with a face of pure horror. Her last line of defense just got neutralized by a piece of paper signed by her own father. The scene shifts to a shot of the Duplain estate at night under a full moon. It looks peaceful from the outside, but we know the inner circle is in complete chaos. In the hallway, the older blonde brother in the white uniform is storming towards Derek's room, with Reike trailing behind and trying to calm him down. Reike is panicking, yelling for his brother to stop. The blonde brother bursts into the room, shouting at the mercenary. He looks ready to start a fight right then and there. Derek is just sitting calmly on a couch in the dark, holding a book like he's in a library. He is the most relaxed person in the entire mansion right now. The brother is fuming, yelling about how he dared to lay hands on Diela. Reich is desperately trying to hold him back, knowing that a fight with an Archduke-authorized tutor is a bad move. He grabs Derek by the collar, lifting him up as he demands answers. Reich is still pleading for them to just sit down and talk like civilized people. Derek just gives him a bored look, simply saying that his grace permitted it. He is using the Duke's name as a shield, and it is working perfectly. Reich pulls his brother away, reminding him that acting like this will only make their older sister look bad. He notes that their father approved of Derek's methods, which finally gets the blonde brother to stop. The blonde brother finally lets go, telling Reich to mind his own work and to follow him. They are leaving, but the air is still thick with resentment. He puts a hand on Derek's shoulder, saying he has heard everything and that sometimes Diella does need to be hit to come to her senses. He warns Derek not to go any further than this, though. Derek watches them leave, his face unreadable as always. He is sizing up the rest of the family, figuring out where everyone stands in this power dynamic. As the brothers walk away, Reich wonders out loud why they even bother holding on to a kid who has got no future anyway. It is clear that Diella is seen as a lost cause by almost everyone. We get a quick shot of some dolls sitting in a darkened room, a eerie reminder of the child Diella used to be before everything went wrong. The older blonde brother leads Derek into a room, telling him to come in. It seems he has some information that might help our cold-blooded tutor. He explains that this is the room Diella used to live in when she was still in the main house. It has been left untouched for years, frozen in time. Derek looks at a large painting on an easel, depicting a beautiful landscape. It is high-quality work, especially for someone who was supposedly untalented. The brother reminisces about how Diella used to love drawing and would shyly ask him to look at her sketches. He calls her adorable, which is hard to believe given her current behavior. But there was a catch. She never once finished a drawing. She would only paint the parts she liked and leave the rest of the canvas completely blank. The brother apologizes for losing his temper earlier, showing a rare moment of noble humility. Derek just tells him to think nothing of it. Derek asks the obvious question about why he brought him here. The room is cluttered with these unfinished paintings, a graveyard of lost hobbies. The brother wanted to show Derek that Diella was not always someone who deserved contempt. He explains that at some point, she became excessively obsessed with bloodlines, which ruined her. She was eventually cast out of the main house and sent to the annex. The brother admits he has no idea what triggered such a drastic change in her. Derek is deep in thought, realizing he has to stop her from being sent to the monastery. He is taking this mission way more seriously than he is letting on. He realizes that if she can master even a single first circle spell, he might be able to convince the dude to let her stay. It is a slim chance, but it is all he has got. The brother practically begs him to save Diella. He is officially putting all his hope into this low-born mercenary. Derek stops as he notices something in one of the books. He's spotted a clue that everyone else seems to have missed. He points out that there are notes scribbled all throughout her books. Diella was not just being lazy, she was actually studying. The brother notes that those are disciplinary school theory texts, which nobles are expected to study. It is dry, boring stuff, but she was clearly putting in the work. Derek stares at the notes, his red eyes narrowing. He's starting to see the real Diella hidden under all that bratty behavior. He looks at a specific painting of a lush forest, searching for more clues about her mental state. He is like a profiler trying to get inside her head. He snaps the book shut with a firm sound. He has made his decision. He looks back at the brother and says he will give it a try. He has a plan, and it is probably going to be absolutely brutal. Night falls over the annex, and Diella's room is bathed in the cool light of the moon. It looks peaceful, but the storm is about to break. Diella is fast asleep in her bed, probably dreaming about insulting another maid. She looks totally defenseless right now. A massive bucket of water is dumped right over her. She screams as she is shocked awake. Talk about a rude awakening. She is sitting up in bed, soaking wet and gasping for air. Her hair is a mess, and she is looking around the room in a blind panic. Derek is standing right there with the empty bucket, as calm as can be. He asks her if she still feels sleepy with that same deadpan voice. This dude is a menace. Diella is livid, asking him if he is insane. She cannot believe he actually came into her room and dumped water on her while she was sleeping. Derek grabs her by the arm and starts dragging her out of bed. He tells her to follow him because there is somewhere they need to go, while she screams for him to let go. He drags her down the hallway in her nightgown, with the maids watching in stunned silence. Diella is fighting him every step of the way, but she is no match for his strength. The full moon shines brightly over the estate, illuminating their path as they head outside. It is a beautiful night for some psychological torture, apparently. Derek drags her out into the dark, misty woods bordering the estate. He is taking her as far away from the safety of the mansion as possible. He throws her onto the cold, damp ground with a thud. She screams as she hits the grass, looking small and vulnerable in the dark. She looks up at him with pure hatred, asking if he thinks doing this will actually change anything. She is still trying to maintain her defiant attitude even in the middle of a dark forest. Derek leans down and asks if he should tell her something amusing. He has that creepy, knowing smile that means nothing good is coming next. He looks like a straight-up villain now, his face shadowed and his red eyes glowing. He tells her he has no intention of teaching her magic and that he was just using that as an excuse. Diella is paralyzed with fear, her eyes wide as she asks what he just said. She is beginning to realize that the tutor facade was just a lie. Derek stands over her, telling her that all that nonsense about being a teacher was just an excuse. He is tearing down the last shred of safety she thought she had. The scene is framed from a side view, emphasizing the power dynamic between them. Derek is the predator, and Dila is very much the prey. He slowly draws a glowing blue mana blade from its sheath, the light reflecting in his eyes. He asks her if she knows how beautiful the screams of highborn people are. He is definitely leaning into the villain role here. Dila is hyperventilating, stammering about how he will not get away with this. She is looking for any way out, but there is only darkness and a glowing blade. He towers over her, telling her he will get away with it because she is being thrown into a monastery soon anyway. He asks who is going to believe a word she says. She realizes he is right. Her reputation is so trashed that nobody would listen to her stories about the tutor trying to kill her. She is officially alone. Derek gives her a sinister grin, his red eye peeking through the reflection of his blade. He says he would be doing everyone a favor by getting rid of the family's biggest headache. He is really selling the assassin vibe. Diela is shaking like a leaf on the ground, the reality of her situation finally hitting her. She realizes that her life is actually in danger for the first time ever. She takes the only option she has and bolts. She starts running into the forest as fast as her legs will carry her, thinking that if he catches her now, she is dead. She is running through the trees, gasping for breath, and thinking she needs to lose him in the forest. She knows she cannot outrun him on the open plains. She leaps over a massive log, her face set in a look of pure survival. She is thinking that if she can just escape back to the mansion, she will be safe, and he will be the one who dies. Suddenly, she hears a sound and stops in her tracks, her eyes wide with shock. She has spotted something through the trees that should not be possible. A massive fireball erupts into existence, lighting up the dark forest with a fierce orange glow. The power behind it is incredible. Derek is standing in the distance, holding the giant fireball over his head with one hand. He looks like a vengeful god of fire in the middle of the night. Deela stares at him, her face full of disbelief. She recognizes it is a fireball and it is bad news for her. She realizes that a fireball is a second circle spell, and she wonders how a one-star mercenary is using it. She is beginning to realize just how much she underestimated him. Derek has that same twisted, villainous grin as he watches her. He is really enjoying seeing her composure crumble. He launches the fireball with a flick of his wrist, and it streaks through the air like a mini sun. The fireball zooms towards Diela, the intense heat reflecting in her wide, terrified eyes. She cannot move or breathe as she watches her doom approach. The fireball slams into the ground right in front of her with a massive explosion. She is thrown backwards by the force, letting out one final scream. A huge column of fire and smoke erupts into the night sky, probably visible from the main mansion. Derek is definitely not pulling his punches. Diela is on her back, gasping for air as she tries to regain her senses. She is covered in soot and looks like she's just survived a literal war zone. Derek looms over her through the smoke, his red eyes glowing with an inner fire. The message is clear. The brat is dead, and the student has finally arrived. The night sky is still dominated by that giant, glowing moon as the chase continues. It is a beautiful night, but definitely not for the person running for her life. Diela is hauling through the forest, her feet barely touching the ground as she pushes herself to the limit. She is terrified, and the sound of her own heartbeat is probably deafening right now. She is gasping for air, her face twisted in a mix of exhaustion and pure desperation. You can actually see her struggling to keep her lungs from exploding. Disaster strikes as she trips over a massive tree root buried in the dirt. It is the classic horror movie moment, and you know nothing good comes after a fall like that. She goes down hard, sliding across the damp forest floor. The impact looks painful, and it has effectively ended her chances of outrunning whatever is behind her. Diela is on her hands and knees, letting out a pained sound as she tries to scramble back up. She is vulnerable, alone, and completely at the mercy of the shadows. A blue mana arrow streaks through the air with a high-pitched sound. Derek is not just following her, he is actively pinning her down like a piece of prey. The camera zooms in on Diela's terrified blue eye as the arrow zips past her face. She is frozen in shock, the realization that she is inches from death finally sinking in. Derek is not playing around. Multiple mana arrows slam into the ground all around her, trapping her in a glowing blue cage. It is an incredible display of accuracy and power. Diela looks back, her face a mask of pure terror as she realizes she is completely trapped. She looks like a cornered animal, with nowhere left to run and no strength left to fight. Derek slowly walks out of the darkness, more mana arrows hovering around him like a personal guard. He calmly notes that her movements are impressive, which is the coldest thing you can say to someone you just hunted down. Diela looks absolutely broken, her eyes wide as she gasps for air. She is staring up at the person she used to call a lowborn rat, and now he is the one holding all the cards. She manages to scramble back up and starts running again, a last-ditch effort to get away. Derek just watches her go, looking totally bored with the whole chase aspect of the night. We get a close-up of Derek's face, his eyes shadowed and unreadable. He is not even breaking a sweat, he is just waiting for her to realize that escape is a literal impossibility. Diela is still pushing through the woods, but her internal monologue is turning dark. She is asking herself how much longer she can keep this up and if escape is even a real option anymore. A close-up of her face shows a mix of realization and despair. She is staring at the hopelessness of her situation as she realizes she has reached her limit. Derek kneels down and places his hand on a glowing blue magic circle on the forest floor. He is using his tracking magic to stay right on her tail, making it clear she cannot hide in the dark. He stands back up, looking towards where she fled. He is like a machine, no emotion, no fatigue, just a single-minded goal to break her down. Derek thinks to himself that at this rate, he will definitely catch her soon. He notes that the forest they are in is exactly the same one he saw in her unfinished paintings. We get a quick flashback to one of Diela's paintings, showing a beautiful, misty forest scene. Derek realized she sensed the massive flow of mana in nature without even knowing it. He is convinced that she transferred that natural mana onto her canvas. It is a level of innate talent that even most high-ranking mages would envy. Suddenly, Diela screams and lunges at him from the shadows, swinging a rock over her head. It is a desperate, messy attack born of pure panic. Derek draws his sword in a blur of motion, the blue light of his mana reflecting off the blade. He is ready to end this lesson once and for all. He blocks her attack with a heavy sound, the force of the impact sending sparks flying. Diela is putting everything she has into this swing, but it is just not enough. The camera focuses on Diela's face, her expression a mix of pure rage and total desperation. She has reached the point where she would rather die fighting than submit to a commoner. Derek looms over her, his sword held steady. He mentions that choosing to turn and attack instead of running must have been a hard decision to make, almost like he is proud of her for finally showing some spine. Diela is back on the ground, gasping for breath. She is completely spent, her body finally giving out after the intense chase and the failed attack. Derek's face is half-shadowed, making him look like a true villain. He coldly tells her that she does not even have the strength to run anymore, pushing her to the absolute edge. He raises his sword high, the blade glowing in the moonlight. He looks down at the broken girl and asks if she has any last words. Diela just looks up at him with a bitter, hollow smile and lets out a dry laugh. She has accepted her fate, and she is not going to give him the satisfaction of seeing her beg. She tells him to just kill her already, insisting that unlike low-born people, a noble like her does not grovel. Even at the point of death, her obsession with bloodline is the only thing she has left. Derek pauses, his expression unreadable. He asks the million-dollar question about why she is so obsessed with her bloodline. It is the core of her entire identity, and he is about to tear it apart. Diela flinches as if he just struck her again. The question hits a nerve she has been trying to hide her whole life. She looks down, tears finally starting to flow. She asks what else she even has left if he takes her precious bloodline away. To her, without her status, she is absolutely nothing. She starts screaming about magic at the top of her lungs, her face contorted in agony. It is a heartbreaking release of all the pressure she has been under to be a talented noble. She looks at him with eyes full of tears and screams for him to think about if she ever tried. She has spent her whole life trying to manifest magic and failing, while everyone around her succeeded effortlessly. Derek just stands there, his eyes shadowed as he watches her breakdown. He is not showing any pity, but you can tell he is soaking in every word she says. Diela is face down on the ground, crying about how she tried until she bled and still failed. She realized that in her world, effort means nothing if you do not have the results to back it up. She is sobbing now, wondering what she has left besides her name. Her entire world is crumbling in the middle of this dark forest. She asks the darkness what she is even supposed to be. She has lost her identity, her pride, and her hope, all in a single night. Derek remains silent, his face a mask of cold observation. He is the one who pushed her to this point, and he is not going to stop until the breakthrough happens. Suddenly, a blue glow erupts from Derek's hand as he grips his sword. He is channeling a massive amount of mana, and you know something big is coming. Diela looks up, her face tear-streaked as she watches the light. She looks like she is ready for the end, her eyes finally clear of the arrogance she used to hide behind. Derek raises his glowing sword high into the air, thanking her for her honesty. He looks like a vengeful angel under the full moon, ready to deliver the final blow. Diela stares at him with wide, watery eyes as he says farewell. She is completely still, her heart probably stopping for a second as the blade starts its descent. The sword swings down in a blur of blue light and a massive sound. This is the moment where everything changes for our problem child. Diela closes her eyes tight, tears streaming down her face as she waits for the impact. It is a moment of pure, raw terror that most people never have to face. She stays like that for a long second, just crying in the silence. The wait for death is probably worse than the actual act would have been. Suddenly, a massive wall of ice and crystals erupts from the ground right in front of her face. Derek's sword is stuck in the middle of it, having completely missed her. Diela looks up in total shock, her eyes wide as she stares at the glowing ice. She is still alive, and the power radiating from the crystals is unlike anything she has ever felt. Derek is standing over her, looking down at the circle of ice crystals that now surrounds them both. He has finally got the reaction he was looking for. Diela looks at her own hands, which are glowing with a soft blue light. She gasps in realization that she finally did it and manifested mana. Derek calmly sheathes his sword with a sharp click. The assassin mask is gone, replaced by the professional tutor once again. He bows deeply to her, asking her to forgive his rudeness and telling her she did well. He played the villain perfectly just to force her breakthrough, and it worked. Diela just stares off into the distance, her face looking completely drained of emotion. She is processing the fact that her entire life's goal just happened because she was scared for her life. Derek explains that it was just raw mana manifestation, not true magic yet, but he still gives her a rare compliment. Coming from him, that is like a standing ovation. Diela's mouth trembles as she starts to sob. The adrenaline is wearing off, and the emotional weight of what just happened is crashing down on her. She finally loses it, letting out a massive cry as she bursts into loud, ugly crying. She is a mess of soot and tears, and she is finally letting out years of frustration. We get a wide shot of the clearing, with Diela crying her eyes out in the middle of the ice crystals while Derek just stands there and watches. It is a weirdly beautiful and pathetic scene. The giant moon is still hanging over them, a silent witness to the most important night of Diela's life. The forest is finally quiet again. The war is over. They are both sitting on a fallen log now, the atmosphere a lot more relaxed. Derek tells her that she belongs to the wild school, which clearly confuses her. Derek is busy wrapping her hands and wrists with bandages, his movements efficient and surprisingly gentle. He explains that all schools share the same essence, but the way they manifest is different. Diela looks down, actually listening for once. Derek explains that she tried to learn magic through disciplinary theories that most nobles use, but it just did not fit her natural talent. She looks up at him with wide, curious eyes and asks how he knew she was from the wild school. She is finally showing some respect for his knowledge. Derek tells her he saw her paintings, specifically the way she sensed the mana flowing through nature and captured it on the canvas. He is the first person who ever truly looked at her work. He explains that most mages born with a wild school affinity can sense natural mana from a very young age. It turns out her talentless self was actually just a misunderstood genius. Diela looks down at her hands again, probably feeling the mana for the first time. The look on her face is one of quiet determination. The brat is gone for good. Derek stands up and tells her she should be able to walk normally now. Diela admits it is not bad and that she will be fine, trying to keep a bit of her noble pride. As they walk back through the dark woods, Derek tells her that succeeding in manifestation is just the beginning. Starting tomorrow, he will teach her how to manifest mana naturally. Derek walks ahead, his cloak fluttering in the night breeze. He is the most competent person she has ever met, and she knows she is lucky to have him. Diela stops in her tracks and whispers her thanks, looking down with an embarrassed flush. It is the first time she has ever shown gratitude to anyone below her rank. Derek does not even look back. He is not here for the thanks. He is here to finish the job he started. They continue walking back towards the massive Duplain estate, the two of them a silent pair in the dark forest. Diela shouts for them to go with a new positive energy. We get a quick flashback of the unfinished forest painting and a conversation about it being her masterpiece. It turns out she was the first person to truly see the beauty in that mana-rich forest. Morning sun floods through a large window of the mansion, marking a new day and a new Diela. The atmosphere is totally different from the gloom of the previous night. Diela is sitting up in her bed, looking much more composed and focused. She's not screaming or throwing things. She's just quietly thinking about her next move. She holds her hand down, and a small spark of blue mana flickers between her fingers. She's doing it. She's actually controlling her mana. The camera zooms in on her eye, which is now filled with a calm, intense focus. She has finally found her purpose, and she is not going to let it go. Diela is back in her room, staring intensely at her hand as a small puff of smoke drifts away. She looks completely frustrated, and she is thinking that her mana control is just not cooperating with her yet. It is a slow process, and she is clearly losing her patience. Meanwhile, out in the hallway, a lone maid is minding her own business while lugging around a heavy wooden bucket. She is just trying to get through her chores, completely unaware of the drama waiting for her right behind the double doors. The doors swing open, and the poor maid lets out a sharp cry as she is startled by Diela's sudden appearance. It seems like the staff is still as jumpy as ever when it comes to the young lady of the house. One sudden move and everyone loses their cool. In the middle of the panic, the maid loses her grip and the water comes rushing out of the bucket in a massive splash. It is a total disaster in the making, a split second of bad luck that is about to ruin everything. The water lands right at Diella's feet, soaking the bottom of her dress and splattering all over the floor. You can almost see her career flash before her eyes. One wrong step and it is game over. The maid looks absolutely terrified, her face a mask of pure shock as she starts begging for her life. She is stammering out her apologies to Lady Diella, probably waiting for the inevitable tantrum or a slap to come flying her way. She is braced for the worst, expecting her life to be over in a single moment. She walks out into the hallway, her expression serious and regal. There is a new weight to her presence that even the staff can feel. A maid accidentally drops a bucket of water right in front of her, the splash hitting Diella's dress. The poor girl is on her knees instantly, begging for forgiveness and saying she has committed a grave sin. Diella does not explode. She does not even raise her voice. She just looks down at the crying maid and tells her to be careful. It is a simple act of mercy that leaves the whole hallway in shock. The maid is stunned, wondering why she was not hit. She is looking at Diella's retreating back like she just saw a miracle. Other maids gather around, asking if she is okay and if Diella really did not hit her. She confirms that Diella just said a few words and left. The rumors of the changed Lady Diella are going to spread like wildfire. Derek is shown fast asleep in his bed, looking actually peaceful for once. He has earned his rest after the insanity of the previous night. Suddenly, the door to his room is slammed open as Diella shouts his name repeatedly. He is shocked awake with a startled sound. Derek opens the door, rubbing his eye and looking completely exhausted. He asks what is the matter, clearly not amused by the early morning wake-up call. Diella stands there in her nightgown, with the head butler Dellen hovering behind her. She has her hands on her hips, looking as arrogant as ever but with a different energy. She demands he teach her how to control this manifested mana. Dellen is sweating bullets, his monocle practically popping out of his eye. He is shocked that she manifested mana and is looking at his young mistress like she just grew a second head. Diella stares Derek down, her eyes glowing with determination. She reminds him he said he would teach her today and tells him to hurry up and do it. She is still a brat, but at least now she has a goal. Derek just shuts the door in her face and tells her to come back this afternoon. He is still the boss, and he is not going to let her dictate the schedule. Diella is fuming on the other side of the door, while Dellen is literally crying tears of joy. He is so happy his mistress is finally showing talent that he does not even care she is being rejected. Diella starts kicking the door, yelling for him to open it and teach her now. She has gone right back to her loud, demanding self, much to Derek's annoyance. Derek just ignores her and goes right back to sleep, the sunlight from the window illuminating his peaceful face. Diella continues to scream for him to open the door, but the lesson is officially over for now. The sun is shining over the grand Duplain mansion, but inside, a new kind of rumor is spreading faster than the morning light. The servants' gossip mill is working overtime today. A pair of boots clicks rhythmically against the expensive carpet. It is Reg, the cynical brother, and he is definitely about to walk into a conversation he was not prepared for. Down the hall, the maids are busy cleaning, but they are too excited to stay quiet. One notes that Lady Diella did not break a single dish today, and the other cannot believe she was not even hit after splashing a lady with water. Reg walks right past them, but catches the most shocking bit of news yet. They are saying Lady Diella actually manifested mana, the very thing she has been failing at for years. He stops dead in his tracks, his heels skidding on the floor. The idea of his troublemaker sister suddenly becoming a mage is almost too much to process. He turns toward the maids, his eyes narrowed and his face set in a grim line. He asks them to repeat what they just said. He is definitely going to need some confirmation on this one. Back in the Duke's office, the only sound is the scratching of a quill against parchment. Duke Valerian is hard at work, but the atmosphere in the room is tense with the news his sons just brought him. The Duke does not even look up from his desk as he repeats the information about Diella manifesting mana. He is sitting there like a king on a throne, with Reg and the older blonde brother waiting for his reaction. He finally looks up through his glasses, his expression calm but calculating. He says that it is fortunate, but you know he's already thinking about how this changes the family's strategy. Reg is not buying the hype, leaning in to insist that they should not jump to conclusions just from one manifestation. He is clearly determined to keep his sister on the problem list. The older blonde brother has had enough of Reg's negativity. He shouts his brother's name, demanding to know why he cannot just praise his sister for finally achieving something great. We get a close-up of the Duke's eye, and you can feel the weight of his judgment. He is watching his sons bicker, probably wondering which one of them is actually right. Reg reminds everyone of the years of havoc Diella has caused. He is dead set on the monastery plan, arguing that one small spark of magic is not enough to forgive her past. The Duke just goes back to his writing, the sound of the quill filling the silence. He is a man of few words, and his silence is usually a lot scarier than his yelling. The sky is a clear, bright blue, but the mood in the annex is a lot cloudier. It is time to see how our new mage in training is handling her success. Dila is sitting on her bed, hugging her knees and looking absolutely miserable. She has finally got what she wanted, but the weight of it seems to be dragging her down. Derek walks into the room with his hands on his hips and asks her point blank if she is sulking. He has zero patience for noble moping, especially when there is training to be done. Dila snaps back that she is not sulking, but is actually angry. It is typical for Dila to always find something to be mad about, even when things are going her way. Derek scratches his head, looking completely done with her attitude. He tells her that even if she throws a tantrum, nothing in her situation is going to change. Dila keeps her back to him, stubbornly repeating that she is just angry. She is like a brick wall of teenage angst right now. Derek gives her his logic talk, telling her that being grumpy is a waste of time. He says that everything must follow proper order, sounding way too mature for his age. Dila stands up, her face red and her fist clenched as she starts to let out another scream. She is ready to go nuclear on her tutor for being so sensible. Derek just gives her a blank, terrifying stare. He does not need to say a word. His eyes alone are enough to remind her who is really in charge here. The scary look works instantly. Dila deflates, looking sheepish as she admits she is just grumpy. Derek just watches her, probably wondering why he did not stick to monster hunting. Derek pulls back a chair, the sound against the floor signaling that the real work is about to begin. He is ready to turn this grumpy noble into a mage. He sits down with a massive book, warning her that if she just runs wild because she manifested mana, she will burn out fast. He says this from experience, and you know he is not kidding. Dila walks towards the table, giving him a mockingly compliant response. She is trying to hide her nerves with sarcasm, but Derek sees right through it. Derek leans in, his face shadowed and his red eyes glowing. He asks if he should teach her in a way that is not boring. That smile is definitely more threatening than encouraging. Dila gets a flash of his previous lessons, including that massive fireball in the forest. She is beginning to realize that not boring usually means a near-death experience with this guy. Despite the threat, we cut to Diella sitting at the table, eyes closed and head tilted back, looking completely bored. It seems the theoretical part of magic is her true weakness. Derek is deep in his lecture, explaining that they will practice mana manifestation today. He tells her that once she can do it freely, everything else gets easier. He demonstrates by manifesting a blue glow in his own hand. He explains that the wild school lacks rigid structure, making it perfect for self-learning and freedom. He tells her that, to be honest, she is quite suited for the wild school. Dila looks over her shoulder, clearly skeptical about why he is actually being nice for once. He continues, noting that her free-spirited nature aligns with it perfectly. Plus, with her Duplain blood, she has more than enough talent to make it work. We get a close-up of Dila's ear, suggesting she is hanging on every word he says, even if she is trying to look like she does not care. The encouragement actually works. Dila is blushing and looking intensely determined. She has finally found something she can be proud of, and she is ready to go all in. She manages to manifest a tiny ice crystal and asks with a hopeful face if she is like a genius. She is already dreaming of her grand comeback. Derek shuts that down instantly, telling her that she is not. Dila's face falls as she groans about how he is always right. The genius dream was short-lived. Outside, Raig is lurking in the bushes, watching the session through the window. He is like the Grinch of the Duplain family, just waiting for things to go wrong. He clicks his tongue and lets out a bitter sound before walking away. He is clearly not happy that Diella is actually making progress under the commoner tutor. The next day arrives and the mansion looks as peaceful as ever. But we know peace never lasts long when Diella is around. Diella bursts into Derek's room while he is trying to read, looking frantic. She is shouting about how she manifested mana but cannot control where it goes. She holds up a hand glowing with chaotic blue energy. She says she did an ice enchantment, but something feels off. She's like a kid who just found a lighter and does not know how to put it out. Another day passes and Dila is still at it, running through the halls and shouting for Derek. She has turned into his most dedicated and annoying shadow. She finds him sitting under a tree at sunset, still deep in his magic books. She screams his name and asks what he is doing there, probably waking up every bird in the forest. She stands over him with her hands on her hips, scolding him for not staying near the annex. She thinks he is just using her father's books for his own study sessions. Derek just looks up calmly, confirming that the Duke lent them to him specifically for this reason. He is the ultimate professional, even when being yelled at by a teenager. Despite her yelling, Diella looks happy as she walks back with Derek and a maid. She is bragging about finally succeeding in flowing mana through her body, just like he taught her. The nice blonde brother is standing by a window, silhouetted against the bright light. He looks like he has something heavy on his mind. The door to the room opens with a soft click. It seems our protagonist is about to have another one-on-one with the future head of the house. Derek enters and the brother invites him to sit and talk. The atmosphere is way more relaxed here than in the Duke's office, but you know business is still on the table. They sit across from each other, and the brother asks the million-dollar question about how Diella is doing these days. He is genuinely invested in her recovery. Derek notes she has shown significant improvement, but warns that mastering first circle spells is still a long way off. He is managing expectations like a pro. The brother mentions that their mother should be returning from her social circle next week. You can tell by his expression that this is not exactly good news for anyone. He warns Derek that she is not easy to deal with, and that nobles generally do not like commoners holding important positions. He is basically telling Derek to get ready for a challenge. Derek takes the warning with his usual stoicism, saying he understands and asking if that is why he was called. He is ready to face whatever noble judgment comes his way. The brother just stares off into space, a heavy silence falling between them. He has something else he wants to say, but he is struggling to find the words. He stands up, looking out the window as he talks about his role as the next head of the house. He thinks a leader's job is to embrace and guide every family member. He goes on a philosophical rant about how complex human hearts are and how reality rarely matches our ideals. He is really overthinking things today. Derek cuts through the fluff, asking what he is trying to say exactly. He is not here for a philosophy lesson. He just wants the bottom line. The brother strikes a dramatic pose, flexing his arm like a tragic hero. He is really leaning into the melodrama now. The big reveal comes that Diella will not play with him. All that talk about duty and leadership, and he is really just sad his little sister is ignoring him. Derek just gives him the most deadpan stare. He looks utterly exhausted by this family's eccentricities. The brother starts reminiscing about how she used to run to greet him when she was an angel. He is clearly stuck in the past, missing the sister he used to have. Derek just takes a calm sip of tea, ignoring the brother's emotional breakdown. He has developed a high tolerance for noble nonsense. The brother leans over him, desperately asking for ideas on how to win Diella's favor back. He has officially turned his sister's tutor into his personal relationship coach. Speak of the devil, Diella is outside, shouting at the top of her lungs for Derek. She is definitely not looking like an angel today. The brother reveals his master plan, saying he learned how to make dolls from one of the maids. He thinks a handmade gift is the key to her heart. He holds up a hideous, nightmare-inducing doll and asks if it looks just like Diella. No wonder the kid is ignoring him if this is what he thinks she looks like. Derek looks genuinely horrified, asking if he is trying to curse someone. Even he thinks this thing is a threat to public safety. The brother starts sobbing, his melodramatic spirit finally breaking. He is a mess of tears and bad crafting skills. We get another shot of the grand mansion under a bright sky. It is time for the mother subplot to begin, and you can already feel the temperature dropping. Derek is in a formal room, surrounded by maids and a new noble lady in a green dress. She is already sizing him up with a polite but dangerous smile. She notes that she has heard a lot about him and mentions his reputation as a capable magic instructor. She is being very noble lady polite, which is always a warning sign. She introduces herself as Miriella Daybell Duplain. She offers to send a gift to his family estate as a thank you for his work. She is trying to figure out which house he belongs to. Derek does not hesitate, saying he does not belong to any noble house. He's laying it all out on the table right from the start. Miriella is completely stunned. She asks for clarification because her brain is literally failing to process a world where a commoner is teaching her daughter. Derek stares at her with those cold red eyes, repeating for the cheap seats that he is a commoner. This is the challenge the blonde brother warned him about. Miriella looks absolutely disgusted and horrified, her face turning pale as she gasps about him being a commoner. The social order of her entire world just got kicked over. We are back at the massive Duplain estate, and let me tell you, this place is the definition of having way too much money. It is a beautiful day, but you can feel the high society tension building behind those fancy walls. Inside, Derek is being looked over by the staff and the lady of the house herself. He sticks out like a sore thumb in his mercenary gear, but he does not seem to care about the judging eyes one bit. Madame Miriella gives him that fake noble smile, mentioning how she heard they found an extremely capable magic instructor. You can tell she is skeptical. She was probably expecting some high-class scholar and not a kid from the streets. She introduces herself as Miriella Daybell Duplain and offers to send a gift to his family estate as a thank you. She is totally fishing for information about his noble house, trying to see exactly where he fits on their social ladder. Derek does not even hesitate to burst her bubble. He tells her point blank that he does not belong to any noble house. He is just not interested in playing their status games. The madam's brain literally stops working for a second. She gives him a confused look and asks him to repeat himself, like she cannot even imagine someone without a title being allowed inside her house. Derek stares ahead with his signature look of complete indifference, dropping the fact that he is just a commoner like it is no big deal. This kid really has no fear of the upper class. Madame Mariella looks like she has just been slapped across the face, her eyes wide with pure aristocratic horror. She cannot process the fact that a commoner is actually standing in her mansion. We get a close-up of the madam's jewelry, which is probably worth more than a whole village. The silence in the room is heavy as she reels from the news. The scene shifts to a week ago, showing the grand Duplain estate under a beautiful blue sky. A fancy carriage is parked out front, signaling that some serious business is about to go down. Aislinn is meeting with Derek outside the mansion, the two of them standing as equals for a brief moment. She looks as elegant as ever, while Derek is just his usual stoic self. Aislinn gives a gentle, sisterly smile as she prepares to head back to the city. She's entrusting the care of her difficult little sister to Derek, which is a massive show of faith. Derek bows his head respectfully, taking on the responsibility without a single complaint. He is the ultimate professional, even when the job involves babysitting a noble brat. Uncle Jaden is right there, giving Derek a heavy pat on the shoulder. He is looking proud, but you know he's also thinking about the massive paycheck this noble gig is bringing in. Jaden and Peeleen are already in the carriage, ready to head back to their home base. Jaden warns Derek to finish up fast before Peeleen loses her mind and starts another riot. Derek stands alone as the carriage rolls away, his cloak fluttering in the wind. He is a lone wolf once again, surrounded by high walls and even higher expectations. Back in the carriage, Aislinn is looking thoughtful as she rests a finger on her chin. Suddenly, her eyes widen as she realizes she missed a very important detail. She looks absolutely panicked, realizing she forgot to warn Derek that their mother is returning next week. This is definitely not the kind of homecoming Derek was hoping for. Jaden just looks confused, wondering why she is making such a big deal out of a warning. He clearly does not understand how scary noble moms can be. We look up at the massive, ornate ceiling of the mansion as the tension builds. Aislinn notes that her mother is a bit of a handful, to put it lightly. A pair of expensive noble boots clicks against the floor as a new player enters the game. You can tell just by the walk that this person is used to being in charge. Madame Mariella is absolutely fuming, screaming at the Duke about how a commoner could possibly be the teacher for Diella. She is losing her noble composure fast. Duke Valerian is still at his desk, calmly writing without even looking up. He tells her to lower her voice because his hearing is perfectly fine, which is a total power move. The madam leans in close, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. She shouts that they are talking about Diella, making sure her husband knows exactly why she is so upset. The Duke finally stops writing and takes off his glasses, looking tired. He admits he is not a fan of elevating commoners either, but he has his reasons. Muriella slams her hands on the desk, reminding him that every prestigious tutor already gave up on the girl. She thinks hiring a mercenary scoundrel is a disgrace to their house. Valerian stares her down, pointing out that finding a decent instructor was not exactly easy. He reminds her that it was Aislinn herself who recommended Derek for the job. Muriella is practically clutching her head in distress now. She is arguing that there must be a minimum level of qualification, and a slum-born mercenary definitely does not meet it. She tries to come up with a better plan, suggesting they bring in her younger brother, Flam. She is desperate to keep things within the noble circles. The Duke is skeptical, pointing out that Flam is a commander and probably way too busy to be a home tutor. He is not buying his wife's desperate suggestions. Muriella is losing it, shouting about how the social circles of Eberstein are a literal battlefield. She is worried that Diella will be the laughingstock of the season if they do not fix this. She keeps ranting, calling Derek a no-name, no-house commoner brat. She is obsessed with the family's image and thinks Derek is going to ruin everything. Suddenly, the massive doors swing open and a calm voice cuts through the shouting. The family drama is about to get even more crowded. The older blonde brother enters the room, trying to be the peacemaker between his parents. He looks like the only one in this family who actually has a level head. We get a close-up of Muriella's face as she tries to regain her composure. She is still simmering with rage, but she is willing to listen to her son for a second. The brother asks his mother if fighting with his father is really the issue here. He is calling her out on her behavior in the most polite way possible. He gives her a knowing look, sensing that there is more to her anger than just noble pride. This family is like a soap opera with magic. Raig, the other brother, is standing in the hallway looking as edgy as ever. He admits the situation is weird, but says if the commoner actually has skill, it is not a problem. Raig steps into the office and makes a bold proposal. He wants to test Derek's abilities personally in a magic duel. He is looking for any excuse to prove the commoner is a fraud. The Duke cuts him off instantly with a sharp command for him to stop. He is not interested in his son's ego-driven challenges today. Duke Valerian looks his son dead in the eye and delivers the ultimate endorsement. He says that Derek is a true mage, which basically ends the argument right then and there. Raig looks absolutely stunned, his eyes wide and his mouth shut for once. He cannot believe his father would side with a commoner over him. He looks down at his father's desk, his expression a mix of shame and simmering resentment. The rejection clearly stung his noble pride. The older blonde brother looks on, probably wondering if he should have stayed in bed today. The tension in this room is getting out of hand. Reg pivots and suggests testing Dila instead. He wants to personally duel his sister to verify if Derek's teaching has actually done anything. This dude is a top-tier hater. We get a close-up of the Duke's stoic face as he stays silent. He is weighing the options, probably realizing that a duel might actually be the fastest way to settle this. Reg marches out of the room with his brother trailing behind him. He is determined to prove Diela is still a failure, and he does not care who he has to step on to do it. The older brother catches up and shouts at Reg, asking what on earth he is thinking. A magic duel against their own sister is way too far, even for them. Reg turns back, asking if his brother really believes Diela has changed. He is stuck in the past, refusing to see any potential for growth in his sister. The older brother tries the sentimental route, reminding Reg that she is still their blood and they should be protecting her. He is the heart of the family, but Reg has no time for feelings. Reg lets out a dry, bitter laugh at the mention of bloodline. To him, the Duplain name is a burden that his sister is dragging through the mud. He starts yelling, saying that her bloodline is exactly what will destroy the family if she makes a fool of herself at her debut. He is absolutely fuming. The older brother is shocked, asking if those are truly Reg's feelings. He is realizing just how deep the rift between his siblings actually goes. Reg turns his back and walks away, declaring that Diela belongs locked away in the annex. He has officially written her off, which is a classic villain move. He walks down the hallway, a dark silhouette against the light. He looks like a guy who has already decided the outcome of the fight before it has even started. We get a close-up of Reg's eye, and it is full of a cold, focused malice. He is not just trying to win a duel, he is trying to erase his sister's progress. Back at the annex, a bird chirps peacefully on a branch. It is a quiet moment before the storm of the duel arrives. Dila slams the door open, shouting Derek's name at the top of her lungs. She looks panicked, which is never a good sign. Derek is just sitting there calmly reading his magic book. He asks what brings her here so early, totally unbothered by her dramatic entrance. Dila throws the official duel scroll onto Derek's lap. She's trembling, the weight of the challenge finally hitting her. She tells him the bad news. If she loses this magic duel, Derek gets fired. She is terrified for both of them, but mostly for herself. Derek just gives a simple acknowledgement, noting that Reg has already mastered first circle magic. He is like a human encyclopedia of bad news. Diela loses her mind, screaming that he is going to be fired. She cannot believe he is being so casual about their futures being on the line. Derek looks up and reminds her that he is a mercenary. He takes a job, he finishes it, and he gets paid. That is the only logic he follows. He looks off to the side, saying that the payment he has already received has been more than sufficient. He's basically saying his life isn't tied to this job. Dila stares at him in total shock, her eyes wide. She has realized that the only person who is actually helping her doesn't even care if he stays or goes. A week passes, and the Duplain flag flies proudly over the estate. The day of the duel has finally arrived, and the atmosphere is electric. We get a wide shot of the outdoor arena, where a crowd has already gathered to watch the spectacle. It looks more like an execution than a friendly spar. The Duke and his wife arrive with Aceline, looking every bit the royal family. They are walking with a confidence that only centuries of noble blood can give you. Derek is already there, standing alone in the arena. The Duke looks over, acknowledging the commoner who is about to see his student get crushed. Derek gives a respectful bow, his hand over his heart. He is playing the part of the professional tutor perfectly, even with all those eyes on him. Duke Valerian narrows his eyes, wondering if Derek's calm attitude means he is actually confident. He is trying to read the kid, but Derek is a locked vault. The Duke settles into his chair, impressed that the boy can stay so calm in a high-pressure situation like this. He's realizing Derek might be more than he seems. Reg's boots click against the stone as he enters the arena. He is walking with a swagger that says he has already won. Reg's cloak billows behind him as he takes his position. He looks like a classic anime rival, ready to deliver a beatdown. Reg stands tall, his gaze fixed on the entrance. He thinks that today, Dila will be completely humiliated and finally sent away for good. He walks up the steps, thinking about how he will make her regret every mistake she has ever made. This guy is a total drama queen. Dila's boots enter the frame, her red dress rustling as she takes her position. She looks different, more steady and focused than ever before. She's wearing her red hood, shadowing her face and making her look way more mysterious. The bratty Diela is gone. There is a fighter standing there now. Dila looks over at Derek, asking if he really doesn't care what happens to anyone else. She is looking for some kind of emotional support, but she knows who she is asking. Derek stays with his back to her, giving her a final piece of technical advice. He tells her that her growth has been stable and that first circle spells are not far off. Dila is confused, asking why he is suddenly saying things like that. She thinks he is giving her a final goodbye before she loses, and he leaves. Derek looks back over his shoulder, his red eye piercing through the shadows. He reminds her that the wild school is all about self-study, not following formal rules. Deela snaps, shouting about why he is telling her that now of all times. She is terrified and angry, and she is letting it all out. Derek stays silent, letting her vent. He knows she is under a lot of pressure, and he is giving her the space to break down before she builds herself back up. Deela looks down, her voice trembling as she admits she knows she is not a brilliant student. She is finally being honest with herself for the first time. Tears start to well up in her eyes as she shouts that she does not want anyone else but him. She has finally admitted that she trusts Derek more than anyone in her family. Derek stands there in silence, his face hidden from us. He is probably the most awkward guy on the planet when it comes to emotional moments. He finally speaks, admitting he does not know noble dueling etiquette because he has never fought that way. He is a street fighter through and through. He turns to her with a dark, predatory grin and asks if she wants to win. He offers to teach her how to win a real fight, not just a polite spar. Deela is shown in a sea of shadowy, judgmental nobles. This is her reality. Everyone is just waiting for her to fail so they can continue their gossip. We hear the whispers of the crowd, calling children burdens and comparing her to her perfect sister Azaline. It is absolutely brutal. Deela looks up at Derek, her resolve hardening. She tells him clearly that she wants his help to win. She is finally ready to stop being a victim and start being a mage. Deela walks out into the arena light, her red cloak billowing. She did not come here as Raig's younger sister. Derek watches from the sidelines, his face as unreadable as ever. She's not here as a duplane either. She stands here solely as the disciple of Derek. The final shot shows Deela's face under her hood, her blue eyes glowing with a fierce, cold light. The prey has officially left the building, and the hunt is on. The duplane family flag is flying high, signaling that it is finally time for the main event. You can practically feel the tension in the air as the entire estate gathers for this showdown. Deela and Raig face off in the middle of a massive arena, looking like two tiny dots on a chessboard. She is tiny in that red cloak, but honestly, her aura is starting to feel way more dangerous than her brother's. Butler Delon clears his throat to get everyone's attention. He is the referee for this circus, and he is clearly taking his job very seriously. He lays out the ground rules, applying the advanced mage duel rules from some fancy salon. Basically, the first person whose protective sigil activates from taking too much damage is the loser. The screen splits between Raig's smug face and Deela's intense focus. Delon announces that they shall begin, and you can almost hear the crowd go silent. Check out the General Pelham's protection sigil. It is a glowing green pendant designed to keep these noble kids from actually killing each other. It nullifies magic right before the wearer takes a lethal hit, which is a pretty handy safety net. Derek watches from the sidelines, judging the nobles for using outrageously expensive accessories. He notes that Raig plans to end this in under 10 minutes, which is a classic, overconfident villain move. Raig makes the first move, chanting some high-level wind magic as green mana swirls around him like a hurricane. He is clearly trying to end this as fast as possible with a show of raw power. Deela just stands there, her face hidden by her hood as the wind whips her hair around. She looks like the calm before the storm, totally unfazed by Raig's opening act. Raig gives her a mocking look, telling her he will have her headed back to logging duty in no time. This dude really thinks he has already won. He unleashes a massive, glowing green wind crescent that streaks across the arena floor. It is a violent, sweeping attack that looks impossible to dodge. Someone in the crowd screams Deela's name as the wind blade closes in. It looks like it is about to slice her in half, and the suspense is absolutely killing me. We get a close-up of Deela's blue eye, and there is not a single shred of fear in it. She is tracking that wind blade like a pro, waiting for the perfect millisecond to react. She drops into a low roll at the last possible second, the green energy whistling just inches above her head. That was some high-level dodging right there. Raig's jaw practically hits the floor. He was so sure that hit would connect, and now he is realizing that his brat sister might actually have some moves. He quickly pivots, firing off another blast of wind to try and catch her while she is repositioning. He is panicking now, losing that cool, noble composure he started with. Deela is a blur of motion, leaping away as the ground behind her literally explodes from the force of the wind. She's making it look like an easy run, not a life-or-death magic duel. The camera zooms in on her face again. She is sweating, but she is locked in. This is the Wild School training in action. She is sensing the flow of the fight, not just reacting to spells. Derek is narrating in his head, noting that while she mastered First Circle magic, she is still a total rookie in real combat. He is worried that forcing her spells to land will not be enough against a seasoned noble fighter. Raig's wind blast slams into a wall of ice crystals Deela conjured. The impact is huge, but the ice holds firm, acting as a perfect temporary shield. Deela is hiding behind her ice barrier as a whole barrage of green wind blades pelt it. She is playing defense for now, waiting for Raig to tire himself out or make a mistake. Reg sneers at her, calling it raw mana discharge instead of proper magic. He thinks he is so much better than her just because his spells have more form, but form does not win fights. He gathers a massive amount of green mana over his head, looking like he's about to drop a tactical nuke on her. He threatens to smash those tricks to pieces. Reg is looking super confident now, telling her to try blocking this one too. He's really leaning into that arrogant noble vibe, completely unaware that he is playing right into her hands. He launches 3 massive orbs of swirling green wind at once. Dila is crouched behind her ice wall, looking like she is about to be totally overwhelmed. We get a quick flashback to Derek's training. He tells her that a mercenary's way of fighting is different from nobles. They do not care about honor or fairness. They only care about victory. Diela remembers him warning her that even if she wins, she might be criticized for her unnoble methods. She looks worried for a second, but she's already made her choice. In the flashback, Derek stares her down and asks if she is truly prepared for that. He is testing her resolve to see if she has the guts to be a real fighter. She screams her confirmation back in the memory, her face full of grit and determination. She is done being the family disappointment. She is ready to win by any means necessary. Back in the arena, Dila is under her hood, looking ready to pounce. The green wind blades are still raining down, but she has already found her opening. She is moving low to the ground, avoiding the direct path of Reg's attacks. She is like a predator stalking through long grass, and Reg is the oblivious prey in the center. The narration explains that mercenaries keep winning despite strength gaps because they do not engage in a duel. They fight a battle. This is all about survival, not sport. Dila peeks around her ice wall, her eyes sharp as a hawk's. She's analyzing Reg's pattern, waiting for the exact moment his guard drops for a split second. Reg is getting frustrated, his green mana flaring up as he keeps blasting away. He is wasting energy and getting sloppy, exactly like Derek predicted. Diela uses her ice magic against the floor, creating leverage to move even faster. The text notes that she is controlling the battlefield and using terrain to her advantage. She is in a low crouch now, looking like she's about to launch herself like a rocket. She has fully embraced the win at all costs mentality, and it is honestly kind of terrifying to see. She exploits a moment of Reg's carelessness, dodging another wind blade and moving into a blind spot. She is finally taking the initiative. Diela slams her hand onto the floor, and a massive, jagged ice spike erupts right in front of her. It is huge, much bigger than anything she has made so far. Reg's next wind blade shatters against the ice spike with a massive spray of shards. Diela is looking through the cracks, her expression cold and focused. Reg grits his teeth and declares that it is over. He's putting everything he has left into one final massive blast to end this charade. He fires a giant green wind crescent at point-blank range. Dila looks shocked as the massive energy wave rushes toward her. It looks like she has nowhere left to run. The crescent slams into Diela's position, engulfing her in a blinding light. It looks like a direct hit, and the impact is absolutely massive. A huge cloud of dust and debris explodes into the air where Diela was standing. The sound of the impact is deafening, and things are looking really bad for our girl. Derek watches with a bored expression as someone screams Diela's name. He is surprisingly calm, probably because he knows something the rest of the crowd does not. Miriella, Diela's mother, is shown gasping in horror in the stands. She is convinced her daughter just got seriously hurt, and she is losing her noble composure fast. She screams at the butler to stop the duel immediately, panicking about her daughter's safety and yelling that Diela is going to get hurt. Duke Valerian calmly tells her to sit down, noting that the duel is not over yet. He is a cold fish, but he is also the only one who actually knows how to read a battlefield. Miriella is confused, arguing that they all saw her get hit. The Duke calmly points out that she was not actually hit because the General Pelham's sigil did not activate. The Duke stays silent, his face unreadable. He is realizing that there is more to this commoner tutor and his daughter than he first thought. We get a wide shot of Derek sitting all alone on a bench, looking totally unbothered by the chaos. He is the ultimate chill protagonist, just waiting for the smoke to clear. The Duke notes that Derek is not even flinching. He realizes that this whole sequence was probably already accounted for in Derek's plan. The man is a master strategist. Rake stands in the middle of the arena as the dust finally starts to settle. He looks exhausted and confused, wondering why the sigil did not end the fight yet. He thinks to himself that she definitely took a windblade head-on, so why did the sigil not activate? He is looking around frantically, trying to find his sister in the haze. Suddenly, Raeg's eyes widen in shock as a hole appears in the wooden platform right at his feet. He just realized he was looking in the completely wrong direction. The wooden boards beneath Raeg's feet shatter and fly into the air. Someone is attacking from a place he never even considered, underneath the stage. A massive ice pillar erupts from below the platform, catching Raeg right in the midsection. He lets out a pained sound as he is literally launched off his feet. Reg is sent flying backwards through the air, his limbs flailing as the platform continues to disintegrate around him. This is a total reversal of fortune. He realizes the attack came from below the platform, and his face is full of panic and sweat. He has never seen anything this unconventional in a noble duel. He desperately tries to regain his balance, realizing that, according to the rules, leaving the platform means defeat. He is literally inches away from losing. Butler Delon watches the scene, his head shaking in disbelief. Even a veteran like him is shocked by Yahello's underhanded tactics. Reg realizes she actually hid under the platform to avoid his final blast, and notes that being beneath the platform apparently does not count as being out. He is fuming at the technicality she exploited. He looks over the edge of the broken wooden boards, peering into the dark gap she made. He is terrified and angry, waiting for her next move. More jagged ice shards continue to spray upwards through the hole. Yahello is making the area around Reg a literal minefield of frozen spikes. She launches 3 sharp ice lances up towards the surface. Reg is backing away in fear, realizing he is now the one being hunted. Reg's face is shown in an extreme close-up, sweating and panicking as an ice shard whizzes past his head. He has completely lost his cool. He is scrambling across the remains of the platform, thinking that there is not a shred of noble etiquette in this duel. Poor baby, did someone forget to tell you this was a battle? Reg stands at the edge of the hole, looking down into the darkness. He is waiting for her to reappear so he can finally land one clean strike. Yahello suddenly leaps out of the dark hole, her red hood fluttering as she lunges at him. She looks like a vengeful spirit rising from the depths. Yahello lands right in front of him, her eyes glowing with a fierce, cold mana through her hood. She looks absolutely incredible, the ultimate disciple of Derek. Reg is frozen, staring at that look in her eyes. He realizes he has seen it somewhere before, and it is giving him serious chills. He remembers Derek having that exact same calm gaze when his brother grabbed him by the collar earlier. He has realized that his sister is no longer just Yahello, she is a reflection of her tutor. He realizes that Yahello could not have come up with this on her own, and that this must have been Derek's plan. Reg looks over at Derek, who is just sitting there looking smug as ever. Reg grips his jacket, his teeth grit in pure rage. He has realized he is not just fighting his sister, he is fighting Derek's twisted mercenary logic. Reg rips off his heavy dark cloak and throws it aside, finally deciding to get serious. He decides to play along since that is the case. The gloves are officially off. He stands there in his combat uniform, hand extended and glowing with fierce green energy. He is ready to stop playing by the noble rules and fight for real. Yahello has completely smashed through the arena platform, leaving Reg standing on the edge of a massive crater. He is staring down into the dust and wreckage, wondering where the heck she disappeared to. Muriella is losing her mind in the stands, clutching her face in a full-blown panic. She screams out in shock, asking if Yahello really just dove headfirst into that dust pit under the stage. The mother is hysterical, screaming for the butler to stop the duel immediately because she's afraid Yahello is going to get hurt. Duke Valerian stays her hand with a calm, cold voice, pointing out that no rules have been broken and he wants to see how this ends. The Duke stays silent, stroking his beard as he watches the scene with those sharp, analytical eyes. He is a hard man to read, but it is clear he is genuinely impressed by the unexpected turn of events. Down in the shadows under the broken platform, Yahello is huddled among the jagged ice shards. She is taking a breather in the dark, waiting for the perfect moment to strike while Reg is still confused. She stands back up, her blue eyes glowing with a fierce new determination. The bratty noble girl is long gone. There is a real fighter standing in that rubble now. Up on the surface, Reg realizes something is wrong as he feels a shift in the flow of mana. He is looking around frantically, trying to track her through the wooden boards. His eyes widen in shock as a complex magic circle starts to glow right at his feet. He gasps in surprise, realizing he just walked right into a massive trap. A jagged ice pillar erupts from below the stage with enough force to send Reg flying. He lets out a pained groan as he is launched off his feet, his noble composure completely shattered. Reg is fuming. He realizes that at this rate, he cannot even go down there to finish her off. He is being pinned down by the very terrain she is destroying. Reg is sweating bullets as he realizes he might actually lose this. The arrogance is gone, replaced by the terrifying realization that he is being hunted. A top-down shot shows Reg standing on the edge of the broken stage, looking tiny compared to the wreckage. Yahello is hidden somewhere in that dark hole, and the suspense is absolutely killing him. Yahello is crouched in the dark, noting to herself that the mana flow from her brother has stopped. She is analyzing the situation like a pro, waiting for him to make a mistake. She looks up with those intense blue eyes, thinking that if he tries to chant one more time, she will hit him before he can finish. She is playing the long game now. The head butler, Delon, is sweating through his monocle. He whispers his young master's name in total shock, realizing that the family's golden boy is being systematically dismantled. Reg has leaped up and is now clinging to the top of a massive decorative pole in the arena. He is trying to get some high ground so he can finally see what she is doing. He looks down with a grimace, realizing that from this height he will not be able to sense her mana at all. He knows that trying to chant a spell in this precarious posture is basically suicide. Reg decides he has only one option left and begins to charge a massive amount of green wind mana. He's going for a high-risk, high-reward move that looks absolutely terrifying. Dila does not give him the chance to finish, launching a massive blast of blue energy and ice shards from the wreckage. The attack is perfectly aimed to knock him off that perch. Derek watches from the bench with his usual deadpan, expressionless face. He looks like he's just watching the grass grow, totally confident in his student's ability to pull off the upset. The base of the massive pole shatters under the force of the ice impact. Blue sparks fly as the whole structure starts to tilt toward the arena floor. The massive pillar continues its slow, inevitable collapse. It looks like a building is falling down in slow motion, and Reg is right at the top of it. Reg is in freefall, looking like he has seen a ghost as he loses all his momentum. He is completely defenseless as he tumbles toward the ground. The pole slams into the floor with a deafening crash, kicking up a massive column of dust and debris. The impact is so loud you can practically hear it through the screen. Mariella is shown again, screaming Reg's name at the top of her lungs. She looks absolutely horrified, convinced that her son just got crushed to death. As the dust starts to clear, Reg is shown on his hands and knees, gasping for air. He is alive, but he has taken a massive amount of damage from the fall. Reg looks up with a look of pure, unadulterated shock. He has a look of total disbelief, like he cannot wrap his head around how a failure like his sister is doing this. Suddenly, a shadowy figure dashes through the dust cloud toward him. Diella is not giving him a single second to recover. She lunges out of the haze, her hand glowing with a sharp mana arrow. She looks like a vengeful spirit coming for him through the fog. Diella's eye is glowing with a cold, piercing blue light. She has the gaze of a predator that has finally cornered its prey. She leaps forward with a fierce battle cry, her red cloak billowing behind her like a cape. She is putting everything she has into this final approach. Her hand is a blur of motion as she manifests a mana spear right in front of Reg's face. The light is so bright it is reflecting in his terrified green eyes. Diella screams as she prepares to deliver the final blow, her face twisted in a mask of pure determination. She is finally letting out years of frustration in this one strike. She thrusts her hand forward, and a massive mana arrow erupts into existence, glowing with brilliant blue energy. It is a raw, violent display of power that no one expected from her. The light completely washes out the background as the arrow launches. She looks like a total protagonist right now. The arrow streaks across the battlefield in a blur of blue light. Reg is caught totally off guard, his eyes wide as he realizes he does not have time to dodge. Reg tries to pivot, thinking to himself that if he can just close the distance, he will have the advantage. He still thinks landing a single magic arrow is her only trick. He makes a huge mistake. Diella is not just a mage anymore. She has been trained by a mercenary. She spins through the air, coming at him with a physical attack he never saw coming. She connects with a massive kick to his chest, sending him flying backward through the air. The impact is so hard it creates a shockwave on the arena floor. Blood drips from a cut on Diella's cheek as she lands. She looks absolutely feral right now. Honestly, you would not want to be Reg. Reg is shown mid-air, looking totally bewildered as he realizes he just got outfought by his little sister. The shock on his face is priceless. Reg is back on the ground, coughing up blood and clutching his chest. He's struggling to even stay conscious at this point. Diella does not stop. She reaches down into the dirt and grabs a handful of sand with a sharp scraping sound. She throws the sand right into Reg's face. It is a total dirty mercenary tactic. She is not playing for points, she is playing to win by any means necessary. Reg lets out a pained cry as he is blinded and hit at the same time. He is completely overwhelmed and has lost all sense of where he is. He slumps over, rubbing his eyes and groaning in frustration. He is totally broken, both physically and mentally. Reg thinks to himself that she must have run out of mana if she is resorting to kicking sand and flailing about. He is trying to convince himself she is just desperate, but deep down, he knows he is done. Diella starts walking toward him through the dust with her back to us. This duel was always meant to prove her worth. Reg grits his teeth and tries to stand up, declaring that he will meet her head-on as her older brother. He is still clinging to that noble pride, even though he is a total mess. The sun shines through a lens flare overhead, marking a rare moment of beauty in this brutal match. Diella looks back over her shoulder at the kneeling Reg. The dynamic has officially shifted. The failure is now the one looking down. She reaches up and pulls back her hair, her eyes glowing with an intense, cold light. She is ready to end this for good. A close-up shows blood dripping down her neck, but she does not even flinch. She has reached that state of pure warrior focus where pain is just fuel. A visual metaphor shows red paint being stirred in a jar. Magic is like painting. Mana is the paint, and spells are the brush. In a flashback, Derek teaches her in the forest at night. He shows her that you gather the paint scattered freely to paint a single picture. Derek delivers the core lesson with a calm gaze, telling her that this is what they call magic. He is the one who gave her the mental tools to finally unlock her power. Young Dila stares up with wide, sparkling eyes. You can see the exact moment the light bulb finally went off in her head. Back in the flashback, they are under a vast, starry sky. Derek manifests a beautiful swirl of blue mana, showing her that it is all about flow and imagination. Dila closes her eyes, looking more peaceful than we have ever seen her. She is finally understanding the essence of magic. Suddenly, she is engulfed in a massive pillar of blue light. It is a breathtaking shot that signifies her true awakening. She stands in the center of the mana storm, her hair and dress billowing. She repeats the lesson that mana is the paint and spells are the brush. Mana swirls around her fingers as she reaches out her hand. She can feel the energy at her fingertips, ready to be shaped. Her eye snaps open, glowing with a fierce blue light. She whispers to herself that she will paint with this mana. You just know Reg is about to have a very bad day. Diela stands in the middle of a massive magic circle, surrounded by ice lances. It is an incredible display of raw power that should not be possible for a beginner. The butler Dellen looks like he has seen a ghost. He is realizing that the young mistress he once pitied is actually a monster in the making. Miriella is panicking in the background, trying to tell her husband what Diela is doing. She cannot even finish her sentence because she is so shocked. Reg is back on the ground, shouting that it is just a one-star spell. He is trying to cope, but you can see the fear in his eyes as he realizes he is outclassed. Diela is floating in a cocoon of blue light, looking like a literal goddess of winter. She is completely ignoring Reg's excuses, focused entirely on her next move. Reg gathers his own green mana, his face contorted with effort. He realizes he has to strike first or he is finished. He lunges forward, thinking that even with her one-star spell, he is still one step above her. He is in total denial of reality. Reg puts every last drop of his mana into this final, desperate strike. Diela stands her ground as the blue light intensifies around her. She looks totally unbothered by Reg's approach, ready to end the duel on her own terms. Checkmate. Reg is shown in midair, but he is already surrounded by dozens of glowing blue mana arrows. He looks like a pincushion waiting to happen. A massive pillar of blue light and ice slams down on the arena floor. The power behind the attack is absolutely off the charts. The explosion is massive, creating a cloud of smoke and debris that rattles the whole mansion. Everyone in the stands is holding their breath. Miriella screams Diela's name in a panic, her eyes wide with terror as she watches the carnage. She finally realizes this was more than just a training match. The protective sigil on Reg's chest glows one last time before shattering into a million pieces. The rules are clear. The sigil is gone, so Reg has lost. Reg is shown gasping for air in the dust, his face a mess of soot and shock. He has been completely dismantled by the sister he spent his whole life mocking. Diela is shown through the smoke, gasping for breath. She looks absolutely exhausted, but finally, truly satisfied. The final shot shows Derek's red eyes as he watches his disciple's victory. He does not smile, but you can feel his pride in the absolute monster he just created. We are taking a quick trip back to 1 year ago to see some context. We start with a shot of a bird's nest tucked away in a tree, with 3 little chicks waiting for their next meal. The mother bird arrives to feed her babies, proving that even in this wild world, parental instincts are a big deal. It is a peaceful image, but we know the Duplain family dynamic is anything but quiet. We shift to the grand estate, where the massive doors are closed tight. There is a heavy atmosphere hanging over the place today. Duke Valerian and the steward are walking through the halls, discussing a letter that just arrived from House Belmiard. It seems like the political chessboard is always moving. The Duke looks pretty stressed as they talk about the incident and how it should be handled. When you are at the top of a noble house, every scandal is a potential disaster. He stops at a doorway, looking in on a young Diela who is sitting all by herself, looking totally defeated. It is clear the Duke is trying to figure out what to do with his problematic daughter. Back in the flashback, Diela looks like she is carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. She is staring off into space, probably wondering why she cannot just manifest magic like everyone else. The Duke watches her from the shadows, his face half hidden. He is a hard man to read, but you can tell he is calculating her value to the family name. We snap back to the present, right after the duel. Diela is scuffed up and breathing hard, but there is a new light in her eyes that was not there before. She is standing tall in the center of the arena as her protective mana shield finally dissolves. This is the moment she realizes she actually held her own against her brother. The trigger has officially activated. She has finally pushed past her limits, and things are never going to be the same. Meanwhile, Reg is still on the ground, looking like he just got hit by a truck. He cannot believe he actually lost to the sister he's been mocking for years. Derek just stands there with his classic deadpan expression, watching the drama unfold. He is not even breaking a sweat. He knew exactly how this was going to go. He looks off to the side, probably already planning his next move. For a mercenary, he is doing a whole lot more than just teaching. Suddenly, Dila just lets it all out, crying at the top of her lungs. All that pressure to be a perfect noble just exploded into a messy emotional breakdown. Duke Valerian is watching from the balcony, looking down at the chaos with those sharp eyes. He is taking in every detail of Diela's victory and her subsequent meltdown. Miriella is absolutely losing it, screaming at the Duke about how vulgar and filthy this fight was. She is obsessed with noble standards and cannot handle a street-style brawl. Diela is still in the middle of the arena, sobbing because she is so overwhelmed. She is yelling that this makes no sense, probably because she has never felt this kind of validation before. The Duke looks down, his expression hardening as he thinks about the nonsense Derek was teaching his daughter. He is starting to realize that the old rules might not apply anymore. We get a quick glimpse of a knight in a flashback, identifying himself as Raymond Oswald Duplain. He is pledging his honor to join the war under the Duke's grace. The knight tells the Duke that his eyes resemble someone from his past. It is a heavy moment that shows where the Duke's sense of duty and ambition comes from. The Duke in the flashback looks younger and full of fire as he thanks the knight. It is a reminder that even the coldest noble started somewhere. Back in the present, Dila is wiping her face, trying to pull herself together. She has been through the ringer, but she is still standing. The Duke watches her with a look that is almost like respect. He is seeing a version of his daughter that he never thought was possible. The maids finally rush in, panicking and asking if Lady Dila is okay. They are used to her throwing tantrums, but seeing her like this is a whole new level of drama. Dila is clutching her head, clearly exhausted from the mana drain. She is surrounded by staff who are desperate to get her back to the inner chambers. One of the maids puts a hand on her shoulder, urging her to receive treatment immediately. Dila is just totally spent, both physically and emotionally. We see a wide shot of the arena as Reg walks away in the background, looking like he wants to disappear. The maids are clustering around Diela, leaving the former golden boy in the dust. Reg looks back, his face a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. He has realized he is not the only talent in the family anymore. Diela actually bows to Reg, showing a level of grace and respect she has never shown before. Reg can only stammer out some words of praise, looking totally awkward. The maids start leading her away, telling her they will guide her to the inner chambers. Diela is following along, but she is clearly looking for someone. She stops and looks back, her eyes searching the crowd. Even after winning, she is still seeking approval from the one person who actually believed in her. We find Derek sitting on a bench in a quiet garden area. Diela walks up to him, the two of them alone for the first time since the fight ended. Derek looks up at her with that same unreadable face. He is not going to make this easy for her. He wants to see what she does next. Diela is looking down, her blonde hair hiding her expression. She is clearly about to drop another emotional bomb. She starts crying again, but this time it is different. It is quieter and more personal. She is letting out all the fear she had about losing everything. She is clutching her red dress so hard her knuckles are white as she whispers that she lost. Even though she won the duel, she feels like she lost her identity as a proper noble. She looks at him with tears streaming down her face and says she is sorry. She is apologizing to the guy who literally risked his life to teach her. Derek just stares at her, those red eyes taking in her whole messy state. He's not going to offer any fake comfort. A close-up of Diela's legs as she sits dejectedly on the bench. She looks so small compared to the powerful mage she was just a few minutes ago. Derek stands next to her and simply says that he is fine as well. He's acknowledging that he did not get fired and she did not get sent away. He leans in and gives her some real advice to overcome this frustration and grow stronger. It is the ultimate mercenary pep talk. Diela looks up, her face tear-streaked but her jaw set in a firm line. She is soaking up his words like a sponge. And then she just starts wailing again. This girl has a lot of pent-up emotions to work through. The maids are back, rushing over and calling out to their lady. They're probably wondering why the tutor is just standing there while she cries. Suddenly, someone in a green dress is sprinting across the stone floor. This looks like trouble or a very worried mother. Miriella runs right up to Diela, looking absolutely frantic. She is finally showing some genuine concern instead of just worrying about the family image. She pulls Diela into a hug, telling her she has had such a hard time. Diela just whispers to her mother and finally lets herself be comforted. Miriella is smoothing her hair, telling her it is all right now and she needs to get treatment. It is a rare moment of maternal warmth in this cold estate. She starts leading her away, repeating that they need to get her seen to immediately. Diela just gives a weak confirmation and follows along. The two of them walk away, leaving Derek standing all by himself in the garden. He has done his job, and now he is just an outsider again. Muriella looks back over her shoulder, a single tear running down her face. She has realized just how much her daughter has been suffering. She wipes her eyes, her face hardening as she stops and turns around. The protective mother mode is about to turn into scary noble mode. Derek is walking away, his back to her, when he hears the sound of approaching footsteps. He is always on high alert, even when the fight is supposedly over. We get a close-up of Muriella's shoes as she stomps toward him. She has definitely got something to say, and it is not going to be a thank you. Derek looks back with a confused look as he hears her coming. He is not used to people being this aggressive with him unless they are holding a sword. She gets right in his face and screams at him, calling him a vulgar wretch. She is furious that he taught Zylos dirty tactics and thinks a 1-star spell is not impressive. Suddenly, her hand is a blur as she launches a slap at him. Derek does not even move, just takes it like a statue. She leans in close, her eyes wide with rage, and tells him he has smeared filth upon a noble lily. She is absolutely disgusted that a commoner dared to influence her daughter. The impact of the slap is shown as Derek's head snaps to the side. He does not look angry, he just looks bored, which probably makes her even madder. She keeps ranting about how there is a world he will never understand and values that must be protected. She is really leaning into that classist nonsense. Duke Valerian walks up, his hands behind his back, as Muriella tries to get him on her side. She is complaining that this was not even a real magic duel. Muriella is staring at the Duke, her eyes full of shock. She cannot believe he is not immediately ordering this commoner's execution. The Duke turns to her and asks if she knows who is behaving most disgracefully here. He is totally calling out his wife's temper tantrum in front of the staff. Muriella is stammering as she cries. She cannot wrap her head around her husband defending a worthless commoner. The Duke looks her dead in the eye and says that while he is a commoner, he is still their daughter's teacher. He is finally showing where his loyalties lie. He looks over at Derek and asks what kind of parent treats their child's teacher like this. He is effectively ending the argument right there. He notes that everyone loves their child in their own way, which is his weird, noble way of saying he is actually happy with Zylos' progress. Derek just stays silent, those red eyes watching the Duke. He is probably wondering what kind of bonus he is going to get for all this trouble. The Duke tells him it is fine and asks him to come to the reception room for a private discussion. He has bigger plans for our protagonist. The two of them walk away together, leaving Muriella standing alone in the garden. The power dynamic in this house just shifted in a massive way. Muriella is clutching her face where the Duke probably just shut her down. She looks humiliated and absolutely fuming. She is not going to forget this. Inside the office, we see a pen being dipped into a bottle of dark ink. The Duke tells Derek he has raised Zylos splendidly. The Duke is sitting at his massive desk, looking very formal. He says as the master of the estate, he needs to grant a fitting reward to the commoner who fixed his daughter. He asks point blank if Derek desires a 3-star spell. The narration tells us the Duke struck precisely at Derek's biggest desire. Talk about a power move. Derek stares at him, his red eyes wide with a hint of surprise. This is a massive offer for someone at his level. We see a silhouette of the room as Derek realizes this. 5-star magician knows exactly how to play him. He thinks to himself that opportunities must be seized when they come. The final shot is an extreme close-up of Derek's eyes. He is ready to make the deal, and you can tell he is about to level up in a big way. The grind never stops. Duke Valerian and Derek are back in the office, but the vibe is totally different now. The Duke admits Derek taught Zylos a 1-star spell perfectly, but warns him that in Ebelstein High Society, that is just the bare minimum to survive. Derek listens intently as the Duke explains that Zylos needs more than just a quick fix. Now that she has grasped the basics, he expects her to grow at a crazy speed, but she needs the right person to guide that momentum. The Duke leans in, looking incredibly stern behind his glasses. He makes it clear that what Zylos needs right now is not just some random instructor. She needs a true master. We get a close-up of the Duke dipping his pen into a bottle of dark ink. The weight of this conversation is definitely going up as he prepares to make an official offer. Valerian notes that Derek has an ambition that commoners are not even allowed to dream of. He's seen right through the kid's stoic face, acknowledging that he knows Derek is aiming for something much higher. The room is bathed in a soft blue light as the Duke admits that while Derek's presence is technically insulting to the nobles, he is willing to overlook it. He has chosen to value results over bloodline, which is a massive win for our boy. Derek stands there in silence, realizing that Valerian is even more frightening than he first thought. The Duke's ability to read people and manipulate the situation is on a completely different level. The Duke continues writing on his parchment, his movements calm and deliberate. He tells Derek that if he really has those big ambitions, he cannot afford to stay in a small place like this for long. He looks up with a sharp gaze, asking Derek if he is already prepared to leave. He knows the mercenary life is all about moving to the next contract, but he is not ready to let Derek go just yet. Derek confirms that is correct. but the Duke cuts him off. He says he sees that ambition clearly but insists that Derek must stay and teach Yahello for just a little while longer. Derek's red eyes narrow as he listens to the Duke's final pitch. Valerian is talking about the highest realm permitted to a commoner, dangling a prize that Derek literally cannot ignore. The big reveal is here, as the Duke asks if he desires a 3-star spell. For a commoner mage, that is like being offered a winning lottery ticket and a mansion at the same time. Derek does not hesitate for a single second. He looks the Duke dead in the eye and gives a firm yes. He knows exactly how much a 3-star spellbook is worth in this world. The scene shifts to a heavy set of doors opening, with bright light pouring out from the other side. It looks like Derek is finally getting access to the restricted section of the estate. Derek walks down a long, red-carpeted hallway lined with massive bookshelves. The place is like a literal fortress of knowledge, and you can tell he is soaking in the atmosphere. He stops and reaches out, pulling a thick, leather-bound book from the shelf. This is the moment every magic-obsessed person dreams about. He opens the book to find pages covered in intricate magical circles and ancient-looking runes. It is a lot more complex than the 1-star stuff he has been working with, but he is ready for it. He stares at the page with a look of pure focus. No words are needed here. You can just see his brain working overtime to decode the high-level magic in front of him. Derek is genuinely blown away, thinking to himself that this place is amazing. Even for a guy who usually has zero emotions, this collection of knowledge is too much to ignore. The shelves are glowing with a faint magical aura, showing off a collection of 3-star spellbooks. Most mages spend their entire lives just trying to see one of these, and Derek is standing in a whole room full of them. He stands there clutching his new prize, looking around at the rows upon rows of books. He has realized that the Duke's reward is even more valuable than he first thought. A close-up of Derek holding the book shows his intense red eyes fixed on the cover. He knows that with this, he is one step closer to his ultimate goal. We get a quick comedic break showing the Mercenary captain Jaden and P-Line looking confused. It seems like things are moving way faster than they expected, and they are struggling to keep up. White doves fly across a beautiful, clear blue sky above the mansion. It is a peaceful transition that signals a new chapter is starting for our team. Yahello is back, and she is looking more confident than ever. She's standing tall in her red dress, proudly announcing that she is officially a 1-star mage now. She is striking a smug pose while Derek just sits there, completely unfazed. He points out that she only cast a 1-star spell once, so she should not get too ahead of herself. Yahello gets right in his face, looking annoyed that her achievement is not getting more praise. She is demanding to know why he is not happy for his star student. Derek scratches his head, looking exhausted by her constant energy. He notes that she has recovered quite a lot in 3 days, which is his weird way of being nice. He mentions that she definitely cried a lot back then, which sends Yahello into a blushing, embarrassed state. She is trying to keep her cool, noble image, but Derek keeps bringing up her messy breakdown. She starts making excuses, shouting that she did not cry and that it was just dust in her eyes. It is classic for Yahello to blame the weather instead of admitting she has feelings. She pouts, thinking that her father should have told her earlier that she was not actually getting kicked out. She was so stressed out for no reason, and she is definitely salty about it. Derek looks over at her and asks if they should start the lesson. The fun is over, and it is time to get back to the grind. Yahello is sparkling again, looking like a total protagonist. She asks for clarification on what he said and what is considered quick as she gets ready for some magic training. Derek explains that her growth is actually quite rare, considering how soon she managed a 1-star spell after awakening her mana. He is finally giving her a tiny bit of credit. Yahello is hyped up, listing off all the cool spells she wants to learn, like the mana arrow or the wind blade her brother used. She is already dreaming of being an elite mage. Derek shuts her down instantly, telling her that today they are going to practice mana manifestation. Yahello looks disappointed, realizing it is back to the boring fundamentals. She is complaining again, asking why they are not jumping straight into the 1-star spells. She has zero patience and just wants to see some fireworks. Derek keeps his cool, explaining that in the end, the fundamentals are the most important. He is a firm believer in the boring stuff, and he is not budging. Yahello bows her head, looking totally defeated as Derek tells her to get to work. She knows that when he gets that serious, there is no arguing with him. She is pouting again, grumbling that she got excited for nothing. She really thought she was going to be blasting stuff today, and she is not hiding her disappointment. A close-up of Yahello's face shows her looking particularly adorable with those puffed-out cheeks. Even when she is being a brat, you can see she is trying her best. She notices Derek staring at her, and asks why he is looking at her like that or if there is something on her face. Derek admits he is just surprised she is listening so obediently. He is used to her fighting him every step of the way, so this sudden compliance is a shock. Yahello gets defensive, crossing her arms and insisting that she respected what he said from the beginning. We all know how she actually started. We get a comedic flashback to Dila laughing while pouring a bucket of dirty water over Derek's head. Derek adds that it happened twice. The mercenary memory is long. Dila looks down in pure shame, realizing she has been caught in her lie. She's absolutely red-faced as she realizes she cannot win this argument. Derek points out that he still remembers that, and Dila realizes it is definitely going to be hard to forget. The awkwardness in this garden is at an all-time high. Dila suddenly does a complete turnaround, laughing and shouting about the nice weather as she runs off the train. She is trying to escape the conversation by being extra enthusiastic about mana manifestation. Derek actually lets out a genuine laugh. He is finding her chaotic energy more amusing than annoying for once. The sun sets and we get a beautiful shot of the mansion under a full moon. It is a peaceful night, but we know the grind never stops for these two. Dila is absolutely wiped out, panting and sweating after her training session. She is really pushing herself, even if she will not admit it. Derek stands over her, noting that she's going to get busy soon. He has that look on his face that says more hard work is on the horizon. They both sit on the grass, looking exhausted. Derek mentions she heard the news too, signaling that something big is about to change in her schedule. Dila is clutching her head, complaining that starting next week she will have etiquette classes too. To her, having to be a proper lady is way worse than magic training. Derek points out that since she has learned a one-star spell, she now has to receive true noble education. Dila is not impressed, wondering why she has to do any of that stuff. She starts listing off all the boring things she has to learn, like sewing, and wonders how her sister Azaline ever endured it all. She is definitely not a fan of the noble lifestyle. Derek looks off into the distance, mentioning the center of Ebelstein society. He's thinking about the bigger picture, while Dila just wants to focus on her magic. Dila admits she just wants to study magic, her face glowing in the moonlight. She has finally found her passion, but the world is trying to drag her into politics and high society. Derek reminds her that the Grand Duke hired him, so they have plenty of leeway. He is basically telling her not to worry because he has her back. Dila gives a small, confident smile, noting that her father finally acknowledged Derek. The respect is finally there, even if it took a literal explosion to get it. She asks Derek why her mother wants to drive him out so badly. She is starting to see the family drama for what it really is. Derek explains that learning from him distances her from noble dignity. He is a commoner mercenary, and to someone like the mother, that is a stain on the family name. He notes that his way of doing things was far from the dignity nobles pursue. He is a pragmatist, not a socialite, and he is perfectly fine with that. Dila looks up at him with a confused look, and he simply says that then the situation is simple. He has a plan to handle the mother, and it is probably going to be absolutely ruthless. Dila is left stammering in shock. She was not expecting him to suggest something so extreme, but then again, he is a mercenary. The sun rises over the massive Duplain estate again, marking a new day of training and noble headaches. The mother, Miriella, is walking through the halls looking incredibly stressed. You can tell she is plotting something to get rid of the commoner tutor once and for all. She has a terrifying vision of Derek as a literal demon, holding a bloodied sword and laughing. She thinks he is a dreadful teacher who is poisoning her poor child. In her imagination, Derek is teaching Dila the mercenary way by having her stand over tied-up enemies. She is convinced he is turning her daughter into a cold-blooded killer. She then imagines Dila entering high society looking like a wild maniac. To her, this is the ultimate nightmare for the Duplain family name. She is clutching her head in distress. The mental image of her daughter being filthy is literally giving her a migraine. The maids are opening the large doors to Diela's room, wondering what that lowborn could possibly teach her. They are all just waiting for her to fail. Miriella is fuming, telling herself she must find a way to drive him out. She is not giving up without a fight, even if her husband is on Derek's side. Suddenly, Dila walks in and calls out to her mother. She looks totally different, catching the mother completely off guard. Miriella puts on her fake persona, smiling and telling Dila that even if people call her immature, she is still her precious daughter. She pulls her into a hug, saying she likes when she smiles in her arms. She's trying to use maternal affection to manipulate Dila back onto her side. Miriella keeps up the act, but you can tell she is just waiting for Dila to mess up so she can point a finger at Derek. She opens one eye and sees Diela's calm, refined expression. She is confused by the lack of a tantrum and tries to figure out what has changed. Dila curtsies perfectly, looking every bit the noble lady in her blue dress. She asks if her mother rested well last night, and the mother is absolutely floored. Miriella is stammering in confusion. Her brain is failing to process a version of Dila that is not screaming or throwing things. The transformation is too much for her to handle. Dila continues with perfect eloquence, apologizing for missing the chance to talk, and saying she has many conversations she wants to share. She is playing the role of the perfect daughter perfectly. The mother can only manage a stunned response as she stares at Dila in total shock. She has realized her bratty daughter is gone, replaced by a refined noblewoman. Diela gives a graceful smile, thanking her mother for her concern. She is completely taking control of the interaction, leaving Muriella with nothing to complain about. Muriella asks if etiquette classes have not even started yet. She cannot believe Diela learned to be this noble on her own, or, heaven forbid, from a commoner. Diela waves goodbye, telling her mother she is looking forward to them. She has completely silenced her mother's justification for firing Derek. Muriella stands there sweating and can only manage to tell her to hurry along. She has been totally outmaneuvered by her own 16-year-old daughter. Diela walks away through the courtyard with a small smile on her face. She has finally realized that noble dignity is just another tool she can use to get what she wants. Suddenly, there is a thud sound as something happens off-screen. The maids are all looking over, concerned about what just went down. A maid leans over, asking if she is hurt. It seems Diela had a little stumble, but she is handling it with her newfound grace. Diela stands there smiling while the mother watches from behind, looking totally bewildered. She tells the staff not to overexert themselves, acting more like the lady of the house than her mother. The maid is shaking as she responds to Lady Diela. She is just as shocked by the change in personality as everyone else. The final vertical shot shows Diela walking away into the distance, leaving her mother and the maids behind. She is officially a one-star mage and a master of high society, and she is just getting started. We start off in the Ebelstein Noble District, where even the statues look like they cost more than a commoner's entire life. The local high society hangout is reportedly blooming with smiles again as the gossip starts to flow. A perfectly brewed cup of tea sits on the table, setting the stage for a classic noble meeting. Someone was looking way too weighed down with worries lately, and the concern among the elite was starting to peak. Lady Iceline looks absolutely surprised as she realizes she was the one making everyone worry. She has a look on her face that suggests she never meant to cause a stir among her peers. She's sitting across from a sharp-looking redhead, explaining that the things troubling her have finally been resolved. She feels much lighter now, and you can see the relief in her expression. The redhead is Alente, the second daughter of House Belmiard, and she was terribly worried when she heard Azeline save someone outside the noble district. In this world, nobles mingling with commoners is usually a recipe for a scandal. Azeline laughs it off while taking a sip of tea, thanking Alente for the concern. She reveals the truth that her younger sister Diela desperately needed a magic tutor, and Azeline has been busy hunting for the right one herself. Alente is stunned, wondering why Azeline would go to such personal lengths for a tutor. She is thinking about how incredible this tutor must be for Lady Duplin to go that far. Denise, the second daughter of House Veltus, joins the conversation with a look of genuine curiosity. She asks if they are talking about Diela, the youngest sister who usually stays out of the limelight. The gossip continues as they mention Diela has become such a proper young lady that she is barely recognizable now. The maids in the background are whispering too. Word travels fast when a troublemaker starts acting like a saint. Denise smiles as she mentions the rumors of Diela manifesting first circle magic and having incredibly elegant manners. It is a total reversal from the Diela everyone used to know. Denise is shown taking notes with a quill, wondering why the Duplin family was trying so hard to keep Diela hidden before. There is a mystery here, and these noble ladies are determined to sniff it out. She looks directly at Azeline, concluding that they must have found a truly remarkable magic tutor to pull off such a transformation. The hype for this mystery teacher is officially through the roof. Azeline confirms that while the tutor has no noble status, his ability is absolutely exceptional. She is proud of her choice, saying it was worth going all the way to the Belden Mercenary Corps to recruit him. The word mercenary hits the table like a lead weight, and Alente's expression turns dead serious. To a noble, hiring a mercenary to teach a lady is basically unheard of. Alente ponders the situation, remembering that Diela was the infamous troublemaker who supposedly made their estate's head chef flee in terror. She is trying to reconcile that reputation with the new, refined Diela. We get a quick flashback of the poor chef crying while Alente looks on, realizing that Iseline is truly kind-hearted for dealing with all that family drama. Diela's past really was a nightmare for everyone involved. Alente takes another sip of tea, amazed that a mercenary managed to not only reform the girl but turn her into a first circle mage. The lowborn tutor is starting to sound like a miracle worker. She gives a small, knowing smile over her cup. It looks like she is officially intrigued by this mystery man who is shaking up the Duplain household. Alente finally asks for the tutor's name, apologizing for the sudden question. She knows a guy this talented is bound to become famous, and she wants to be ahead of the curve. Azeline gives a proud, dreamy smile as she drops the name Derek. It is a simple name, but in this room, it carries a ton of weight. Back at the estate, Diela is talking to her mother, praising Derek for teaching her etiquette as well. She admits that while self-study is hard, Derek has been making it much easier to master the complex, noble manners. The mother, Madame Muriella, tries to play along, saying that studying on one's own is admirable. She's trying to hide her annoyance, but you can see she is not happy about Derek's influence. Dila does not catch the vibe, insisting she learned far more from Derek than she ever could have on her own. She is practically gushing about him, which is the last thing her mother wants to hear. Dila laughs and boasts that most of her progress was difficult, and she only made it this far thanks to Derek. She is giving her tutor all the credit. Mariella gives a forced, polite smile while repeating the name Derek over and over in her head. You can practically hear her blood boiling as her daughter keeps praising the commoner. The moment she is alone, Madame leans against the wall, fuming. She's losing her mind, wondering exactly how many more times she is going to have to hear that man's name. She looks absolutely sinister as she declares there has to be a way to end this. She's determined to drive Derek out, no matter how much Diela likes him. Even the servants are noticing the change, with a maid smiling and saying Diela has grown so gentle and kind lately. The Ice Queen has officially melted, and everyone is loving it. The estate's old gardener notes that Lady Diela has been especially cheerful these past few weeks. It is a complete transformation, and the staff is genuinely impressed. Steward Dellin touches his chin, noting that Diela's new demeanor is something they only used to see in the perfect Lady Azeline. He is surprised, but you can tell he respects the results. Madame Miriella overhears this and looks absolutely livid, her face shadowed with rage. She notes that she can finally sense the dignity of a noble in her daughter, but the fact that it came from Derek is driving her crazy. The scene shifts to the dark night sky, with a crescent moon hanging over the estate. The peace of the night is a sharp contrast to the mother's brewing storm. Out in the garden, Derek's 3-star grimoire lies open on the grass. He is taking his own training just as seriously as Diela's. Derek is shown sweating and pushing his limits, mana swirling around him as he tries to master the high-level spells. He is not just a teacher, he's still a student of the grind. His red eyes glow with intensity as he channels a massive amount of blue mana. He looks like a force to be reckoned with, even when he is just practicing. He stops, panting for breath as the mana dissipates. He is clearly pushing his body to the absolute breaking point to master that 3-star magic. His gloved hand is shown sparking with leftover energy. Even in his downtime, he is a literal lightning rod for power. Derek collapses onto the grass, letting out a long breath as he tries to recover. This level of magic is no joke, even for a prodigy like him. He hears a noise and looks back with a sharp gaze, quickly snapping out of his exhaustion. He is always ready for a potential threat, even in the middle of the night. It is just Reich, Diela's brother, walking up with a casual wave. He asks if he interrupted the training, looking much more relaxed than usual. Derek sits up and tells him it is fine, asking what brings him out here so late. He still has that wary look, but he knows Reich is not an enemy. The two of them look up at the starry night sky, the atmosphere becoming much more quiet and contemplative. They sit together on a fallen log, with Reich giving a simple confirmation as they settle in for a talk. It is a rare moment of bonding between the noble and the mercenary. Reich spots the book and realizes it is a third circle grimoire. He is stunned when Derek confirms that the Grand Duke personally lent it to him. Reich's eyes go wide in disbelief. He cannot believe his father would give such a high-level artifact to a commoner. Derek remains calm, admitting it might be beyond him for now, but there is no harm in studying early. He has that attitude that he is going to master this no matter what. We get a flashback of Duke Valerian looking stern, telling someone that the kid is the real deal as a mage. The Duke's endorsement is the only reason Derek has that book. Reich laughs nervously, admitting that it is truly impressive. He is finally starting to see why his father and sisters are so obsessed with this guy. He looks down, his expression turning hesitant as he mentions wanting to talk about Diela. He has something on his mind, but he is struggling to say it. He starts fiddling with his fingers, looking embarrassed as he asks what teenage girls these days like. He has officially turned Derek into his relationship counselor. Derek just stares at him with the most deadpan, disbelief expression possible. He is a mercenary mage, not a dating expert. Reich blushes, suggesting that if he embroidered a doll that looks like her, she might like it. He is clearly trying to be a good brother, but his ideas are questionable. We get another look at that terrifying, nightmare-inducing doll from before. Seriously, if he gives her that, she's going to need more than etiquette classes. She will need therapy. Derek gives him a cold, immediate refusal. He is doing the guy a favor by shutting that idea down before it ruins any progress they have made. Reich sweats, admitting even he thought it sounded terrible. He is relieved Derek was honest with him, even if it hurt his feelings a bit. Reich stands up and suggests they head inside if the training is done. The tension has broken, and the two are acting almost like real friends now. They walk back toward the mansion, a strange pair of shadows on the lawn. It is a peaceful end to a very long night. Reich looks back and tells Derek he owes him his thanks. Derek does not say anything, but you can tell he hears the sincerity in the noble's voice. Reich looks up at the moon, noting that the atmosphere at home has been great lately. He says even his father seems pleased, even if he does not show it. Reich laughs, saying everyone in the estate would agree that reading the Grand Duke's thoughts is impossible. He is feeling much more optimistic about the family's future. He stops walking for a second, his boots clicking on the grass. He has one last thing to say before they part ways. He looks up at the stars, admitting he needs to accept that people can change, especially children. He is finally letting go of his resentment toward his sister's past. He says that since Diella has changed, he will try to change as well. He is committing to being a better brother, which is a huge step for him. He looks at Derek and gives him a final thank you. He knows that none of this would have happened without the lowborn tutor's intervention. Derek looks down, his expression unreadable as always. He is not one for big emotional moments, but he has clearly taken the gratitude to heart. Rake gestures wildly, noting that Diella's magic feels somewhat different. He has noticed the shift in her power, and he is curious about what Derek did. Derek tells him that a prodigy is still a prodigy, even if they are on the brink of failure. He notes it is not easy to perceive the distinction, but Rake caught it. Rake smiles when Derek confirms Diella uses the wild school method of mana manipulation. He has heard of it, but seeing it in action in his own sister is a shock. Derek explains that every individual's mana differs, and once she reaches a certain threshold, things will get even more interesting. They stand outside the building as Derek warns that at her current level, a master's intervention might actually hinder her. He is trusting her to grow on her own now. They walk through the doors as Derek thinks about how the day to repay one's debts always comes. He is playing the long game, as usual. 2 months later arrives, and a beautiful flower lies on the sunlit floor. Spring has officially arrived at the estate. Diella is sitting with a maid who has brought her some fresh flowers for her hair. She is looking much more relaxed and happy than we have ever seen her. She smells the flowers, looking peaceful as she comments on how spring has lingered. She is finally enjoying the simple things in life. She notes that she already handles first circle magic with ease, showing just how far she has come in such a short time. She smiles beautifully, realizing she missed so much over the years. She credits all of her happiness and progress to Derek, her loyal tutor. The maid asks if she is happy because it is magic lesson day, and Diella gives a huge, enthusiastic yes. She is no longer the girl who had to be dragged to training. Diella reaches for a flower, telling the maid she wants to bring one to Derek as a gift. It is a sweet gesture that shows just how much she respects him now. The flower falls through the air, trailing petals behind it. It is a beautiful, slow-motion shot that feels full of hope. More petals fall to the ground, creating a soft, pink carpet. But the atmosphere suddenly feels a bit heavy. Diella stands at the door to the office, but she stops when she hears something from inside. The look on her face says she is hearing something she really does not like. She looks absolutely shocked and heartbroken, tears starting to form in her eyes. She asks Derek what he is talking about. Inside, Derek is standing before Duke Valerian, looking as stoic as ever. He tells the Duke it is exactly as he heard, signaling a massive change. He looks over his shoulder at Diella and drops the bomb that he has nothing more left to teach the young lady. He is officially ending the contract. The final shot is the flower lying alone on the floor, its petals scattered. The magic tutor is leaving, and the problem child is on her own again. What a cliffhanger. We're back in the Duke's office, where things are getting pretty heavy. Valerian is explaining that because Diella belongs to the Wild School, she has a talent that is uniquely her own. Derek listens as the Duke gets all poetic, saying that if he tries to force her into a mold, he might end up breaking the very wings that are meant to let her fly. He has realized his daughter is a different kind of monster. The Duke cuts straight to the point. Since there is nothing more for Derek to teach her, there is no reason for him to stay. Derek does not even blink, just gives a simple confirmation. We get a close-up of the Duke's beard as he falls silent. You can tell there is a lot he is not saying, probably still processing that his daughter is now a prodigy. Derek catches the Duke's eye as he stands up. The tension is gone, replaced by a weird kind of mutual respect between the high noble and the mercenary. Duke Valerian stands at the window, admitting that many things have changed thanks to Derek. He finally gives the ultimate seal of approval, saying that because of him, his daughter was able to grow. The Duke turns away, confessing that he is relieved because he felt like he had failed to be a proper father. It is a rare moment of vulnerability for a guy who usually acts like a stone wall. Derek just stands there in the background while the Duke remains silent again. He is not one for long goodbyes or emotional reunions. He has places to be. Derek looks down, explaining his plan to return to Ebelstein. He is already thinking ahead, mentioning he will hitch a ride on Lady Iselin's carriage since she is heading that way anyway. He notes that he will return the library key and the 3-star grimoire he has been studying. He is a professional through and through, making sure all his loose ends are tied up. The Duke looks back over his shoulder and surprises him by saying there is no need for that. He tells Derek to keep the key, which is basically an open invitation to return whenever he wants. Derek actually looks a little stunned, clutching the book to his chest. This is a massive gesture from the head of the house, showing just how much he trusts this commoner. Valerian tells him that if he has no other business, he is free to go. Derek bows respectfully, ready to leave the noble life behind and get back to the streets. We get a close-up of Derek's profile as he walks away, his expression as unreadable as ever. He's leaving a whole lot of gold and influence on the table, but he does not seem to care. Derek exits the office while the Duke watches him go from the window. It is the end of an era for the Duplin estate, and the atmosphere feels weirdly empty already. Derek marches down the long, empty hallway, his boots echoing against the floor. He has done the impossible and fixed the most difficult student in the country. He runs into Diella in the corridor and tells her that everything happened so suddenly. One minute he was her tutor, the next he is packing his bags to leave. Diella stands there looking totally different from the brat we first met. She looks refined and a bit sad, realization sinking in that her safety net is about to disappear. Derek just gives her the cold reality that there is nothing they can do. He is a mercenary. When the job is done, it is time to move on to the next contract. Diella's eyes go wide and she practically begs him not to leave. She asks him if he can stay. She has finally admitted that she actually needs him, and it is heartbreaking to see. Derek stays silent, his face shadowed as he looks down at her. He is not going to make this easy by giving in to a teenage girl's feelings. He starts walking again, his boots clicking rhythmically as he heads for the exit. He has already checked out of this life and is heading back to his own world. He stops and tells her he is returning to being a mercenary, but promises to keep studying magic. He mentions that once she refines her skills, they will meet again at her debut in Ebelstein. Diva looks down, her blonde hair hiding her eyes as she processes his words. She is disappointed, but she is not throwing a tantrum like she used to. Derek actually gives her a tiny, genuine smile. He tells her that they can meet again then, giving her something to work toward. Diella snaps back into her usual self, pouting and calling him annoying. She is trying to hide her feelings behind her attitude, but we all know she is going to miss him. Night falls over the Duplain mansion, the full moon casting a bright light over the towers. It looks peaceful, but something is brewing inside. Inside her room, Diella is having a rough time, panting and gasping in her sleep. She is caught in the middle of a serious nightmare. In her dream, dark silhouettes of her family and other nobles are looming over her, shouting that she is useless, incompetent, and has zero talent. It is all the verbal abuse she has endured her whole life coming back to haunt her. The final blow in the dream hits hard as they call her the shame of Duplain. Diella looks absolutely terrified and broken as she relives her worst fears in the dark. Suddenly, a bright blue eye snaps open. Diella has just woken up from that dream. She bolts upright in bed, screaming no at the top of her lungs. She looks totally panicked, her hair a mess and sweat dripping down her face. She sits there in the middle of her massive bed, clutching her chest and trying to catch her breath. The silence of the room feels incredibly heavy after all that dreaming. She rubs her head, realizing with a shaky breath that it was just a dream. But the fear is still real, and you can tell it has shaken her to her core. The door slams open as a maid rushes in, asking her lady if she is all right. The whole staff is on edge after hearing her scream like that. Diella looks at the maid with wide, hollow eyes. She is clearly not okay, and the reality of her life as a shame is still weighing heavy on her mind. She starts thinking to herself, wondering about a hypothetical future. She is beginning to realize that she cannot just go back to the way things were. She imagines herself back in the bad old days, getting hit across the face for being incompetent. She has realized that her previous behavior was her only way of protecting herself. Diella sits there in the dark, her face shadowed by her hair. She is coming to a dark realization that she has to play the game of high society to survive. The maid asks again if she is feeling unwell, looking genuinely concerned. Diella just stares at her, her expression slowly changing. We get a close-up of Diella's face as she lets out a small, chilling smile. She has officially found her new mask, and it is a lot scarier than the old one. The maid looks absolutely creeped out, giving a hesitant negative response as she backs away. She has just seen a side of her lady that she definitely did not expect. Diella smiles like a literal angel, telling the maid she is fine and not to worry. She notes that behaving like a brat does not make her valuable, showing she has fully embraced her new perfect noble persona. The scene cuts back to the palace during the day. It looks as grand as ever, but everything is about to change as our protagonist departs. Derek is loading his suitcase into a carriage, where Aislinn is already waiting. He thanks her for the ride, confirming she will drop him off near the commercial district. Aislinn gives him a sweet, sisterly smile and tells him to go say his goodbyes because they are leaving soon. She seems genuinely happy that he is returning to his own world. Derek looks back toward the gathered crowd, his expression softening just a bit. He has grown more attached to these people than he is willing to admit. The whole crew is there to see him off. The steward, the brothers, and even a very determined-looking Diella. It is like a scene from a graduation ceremony for mercenaries. Derek stands in front of them, asking if he is really leaving now. He states firmly that he must return to where he belongs. The older brother smiles and tells him that life at the estate could not have been easy and thanks him for working hard. He even offers to help if Derek ever needs anything in the future. Derek bows his head slightly and gives a simple thank you. He is not big on words, but you can tell he appreciates the gesture. We get a close-up of Derek's red eyes, which look calm and focused as he prepares to head out. He's already thinking about the next mission. Diella is standing there with her arms crossed, giving him a serious look. She is definitely not ready to let him go yet. Derek stares back at her, and she immediately gets defensive, asking why he is looking at her like that. The old dynamic is still there under the surface. Diella huffs, telling him not to get it twisted because she is not a child anymore. She claims she was not going to throw a tantrum and beg him to stay. Derek admits it was an honor to teach her, but adds a bit of realism, saying he might not be able to proudly declare himself her master once he is back in the slums. Diella just laughs it off, saying she fully intends to proudly tell everyone he is her master. She warns him that he will not be able to live quietly anymore once she starts bragging about him. Derek just gives her a long, silent look. He's probably wondering exactly what kind of trouble she's going to cause for him from a distance. Diella looks down, her face turning a bit somber for a second. The reality of him leaving is finally hitting her again. She warns him to be careful and not go getting hurt doing anything reckless. Derek just gives a short confirmation, sounding like a confident pro. Diella stands her ground, shouting that she is already an adult and can take care of herself now. She is trying so hard to prove she has grown up. We get an extreme close-up of Derek's red eye as he hears those words. Something about what she said just triggered a memory for him. We get a quick flashback to a young Derek, who is also saying he is already an adult and can handle his own affairs. It is a mirror image of the conversation he is having right now. A woman with long dark hair places her hands gently on his head. It is a warm, maternal gesture. She looks down at him with a kind smile and tells him to remember what she is about to say. This was clearly a turning point in his young life. Back in the present, Derek looks off to the side, his expression clouded with a hint of sadness. That memory clearly still has a lot of weight for him. Derek calls out to Diella one last time before he boards his carriage. She stops and turns back with a calm expression, looking like she is ready for some final words of wisdom from her teacher. Then comes a rare moment of warmth as Derek actually reaches out and puts his hand on her head. It is a quiet and heavy moment between teacher and student, and they are both thinking about just how far they have come since that first day back in the annex. Diella is left completely speechless. Her face is bright red and her eyes are starting to shimmer with tears as the sudden gesture sinks in. The cold reality is finally hitting her. Her mentor is actually leaving. Derek does not linger, turning his back to head toward the carriage. Meanwhile, Diella stands there desperately trying to wipe her nose and keep her composure. She is struggling to keep her noble lady mask on as she watches him walk away. She shouts his name one last time with her voice full of emotion. Derek pauses for a split second as he hears her call. His red eyes are looking off into the distance, but his face stays unreadable as always. Diella gives him one last energetic wave with a massive smile breaking through her tears. She shouts that she will see him again, giving him the best send-off she can. This is it. She is officially closing this chapter of her life as a student. Diella waves her hand high in the air as the carriage starts to roll away. She is giving him a proper, energetic send-off. As the carriage disappears, tears start to stream down Diella's face, even though she is still smiling. She is finally letting the brat go and embracing her new role as a lady. The scene transitions to a shot of the bright blue sky with fluffy white clouds. It is a clean break from the noble drama of the estate. The location changes to the Ebelstein commercial district at sunset. A rat scurries past some barrels in a dark alley, signaling that we are back in the gritty part of town. Suddenly, a heavy wooden door is kicked open with a massive thud. Someone is making a very loud entrance. Inside, a girl who looks like Pelline is absolutely wrecking some guy. She lands a brutal punch straight to his jaw, sending blood and spit flying everywhere. Talk about a warm welcome home. The rest of the crew is there too, cheering and shouting for her to kill him or beat him senseless while Derek just stands in the background, hooded and totally unbothered. Another shot shows a fist connecting solidly with a guy's face. This is not a duel. It is a straight-up back alley brawl, and the mercenaries are loving every second of it. Pelline turns around with a huge, manic grin, shouting Derek's name when she sees him. She is covered in blood and clearly having the best day of her life. The final shot shows Derek looking cool and mysterious, his red eye glowing under his hood. He is back in his element, and the real journey is only just beginning. We are back at the familiar spot, the tavern known as Belden's Tears. The sun is out, and for once, things seem relatively peaceful in Ebelstein. Here it is, the local mercenary hangout in all its glory. It is the kind of place where you can find a job or a cheap drink, depending on how your week is going. Derek and Pelline are finally back, settling in at the bar. Jaden, the captain, is already there with a welcome drink on the house, serving up some honey mead that he knows they like. Pelline is looking absolutely exhausted, leaning her head on her hand. She is already picking on Derek, noting that he somehow managed to get even paler after spending all that time breathing in noble air. Jaden is not letting them off easy, though. He is leaning over the counter, practically begging Derek to spill the beans on what actually happened at the Duplin estate. Derek just takes a calm sip of his drink, looking totally unbothered as usual. He tries to play it cool, saying he just finished work and there is really nothing worth talking about. Peline is not having it. She scoffs at his new, refined, noble attitude and asks if his mouth is going to rot if he actually tells them something interesting for once. Jaden has to step in to keep the peace, telling Peline to give it a rest and just enjoy her drink. He is used to her fiery temper by now. But Peline is on a roll. She shouts about how she is totally pissed off because she had to run all their commissions alone while he was playing tutor, and she nearly died out there. Jaden ignores the shouting and focuses on the bottom line of money. He asks Derek point blank if the Duplins at least paid him well for all that trouble. Derek puts his drink down and stands up, saying that rather than money, he received something far more valuable. He has that look in his eyes that means he is about to drop a bombshell. He sets a thick, leather-bound book on the bar. It looks ancient and expensive, definitely not something you'd find in a bargain bin. Jaden and Pelin lean in, their eyes practically popping out of their heads. Jaden asks if that is really a 2-star magic book, which is something that is already insanely rare. Derek stays calm, correcting him by saying it is actually a 3-star magic book. This kid just casual flexed the rarest prize in the mercenary world. Jaden is absolutely losing his mind now, warning Derek that if he gets caught with something that valuable, they will chop his head off. Peline is just staring at it, completely mesmerized. Derek does not even flinch, simply stating that the Grand Duke gave it to him personally. When you have the Duke's backing, the usual rules do not really apply. Peline suddenly snaps and grabs Derek, shaking him and screaming about whether they are hiring an archery instructor too. She is ready to sell her soul for a piece of that noble life. The scene shifts to night, with a single candle burning low on a table. It is a quiet moment after all the tavern chaos. Back in the tavern, Jaden is busy sweeping up while Derek is already deep into his new book. Peline has finally given up and passed out on the bar. Derek asks if any new commissions have come in. He mentions he is looking for a light subjugation job because his instincts have been feeling a little dull lately. Even after all that noble drama, he is still thinking about the grind. Jaden stops sweeping and laughs, telling him he is talking nonsense about losing his edge. He notes that around here, they are always desperately short on mages. Derek does not hesitate, saying he will start tomorrow as soon as possible. He is not one for vacations, clearly. The next morning, we see Derek and Peline heading out in the back of a merchant wagon. The sun is shining, and they are back on the road for another job. Things get real fast as Peline is shown in the middle of a fight, looking totally stressed. A massive, hulking monster is looming right behind her, ready to smash her. The dust settles, and we see the duo standing over the giant, defeated beast. It looks like Derek's dull instincts were more than enough to handle this guy. We get a montage of their work, showing Derek under a moonlit sky, wielding a glowing blue mana sword. He is taking on giant spiders in a forest, looking like a total pro. 4 weeks fly by in a flash. Derek is still sitting in the back of a wagon, calmly reading his book while Peline is sprawled out on the floor, absolutely done with life. At night, they set up a small campsite. Derek is tucked into his bedroll by the fire, but you know he's probably still thinking about magic. Indeed, we see him training alone in the dark woods. He is standing in a clearing, glowing with an intense blue mana that illuminates the trees around him. Derek is pushing himself hard, blue mana swirling around him like a small hurricane. He is not just practicing, he is trying to master the complex formulas from his 3-star book. He holds a glowing blue mana crystal between his hands, focusing all his energy into it. The air is literally crackling with power around him. A blinding flash of light erupts as Derek's mana flares up. It looks like he is finally touching on some seriously high-level power. A massive explosion ripples through the forest, blowing back the trees and lighting up the night sky. Talk about a light training session. Derek is shown sitting on the ground, panting for air with mana still flickering on his hands. He is absolutely exhausted, but his eyes are still full of that same determination. The 3-star magic book lies open on the grass nearby, a testament to the hard work he is putting in. He is not just a prodigy, he is a master of the grind. The scene shifts back to the tavern during the day. It looks peaceful enough, but the seasons are starting to change. Now it is autumn, with leaves blowing past the tavern at sunset. Time is moving fast for our protagonist and his crew. Winter arrives with a vengeance, showing the tavern at night covered in a thick layer of snow. The weather is definitely not mercenary friendly right now. The tavern door is kicked open as a blast of cold air and snow swirls inside. Someone is coming in from the cold. Derek and Peline stumble in, looking half frozen. Peline is shivering and complaining about how much colder it is going to get, while Derek just looks stoic as usual. Jaden greets them with a look of pure disbelief, asking if they actually climbed the Ken Mountains in this insane weather. Payoline just groans, saying she is not going back until it warms up. Jaden is at the bar, examining a sack full of harpy feathers. He tells them they are probably the only idiots in the world who would actually go out and pluck harpy feathers in a blizzard. Derek gives a simple thanks while wiping a smear of blood from his cheek. Payoline is just happy to be back, saying she finally feels alive again after that freezing hike. Jaden mentions that his timing is actually perfect. He tells Derek that a new commission just came in that is basically tailor-made for him. Jaden gets a mischievous grin on his face, admitting the job is a little annoying though. That is usually mercenary code for this is going to be a headache. He explains that the job got bounced from the Rohul mercenary group on West Street. If another group turned it down, you know there is a catch. We get a shot of feet walking through the clean streets of the Noble District. The commission is coming from the prestigious Count Belmiard family. Derek listens with a serious face as Jaden drops the truth that in simple terms, they need a punching bag. This is not a monster hunt, it is a social favor. Derek arrives at the entrance of the Noble District Magic Sparring Arena. It is a fancy place where the elite come to show off their skills. An overhead shot shows an old man in tan robes walking with a stunning redhead woman in noble attire. They look like they are heading for a serious training session. The old man explains to the woman that for today's offensive magic training, they have procured a commoner. To these people, Derek is just another piece of equipment. The woman, Elente, is surprised and asks if he is telling her to beat up a commoner. She has a bit of that noble pride, but she seems skeptical about the setup. The old man smiles, saying this is part of her training. He reassures her that the commoner has been promised adequate compensation for the service. Elente does not look happy about it, realizing that this training is just an excuse for a noble to beat up a commoner without consequences. She has definitely got more of a conscience than her teacher. The old man mentions that even so, the kid can handle 1-star magic. Elente scoffs, saying she will be a 2-star mage soon, so this should not even be a contest. Derek is sitting on a bench in the background, leaning over to adjust his boots. He looks like he is just getting ready for another day at the office. He hears them coming and looks up to get their attention. He is the most relaxed person in the arena right now. Elente walks right up to him, arms crossed, and asks if he is the sparring opponent for today. She is already sizing him up, and she does not look impressed. Derek stands up and gives a polite, formal bow, introducing himself simply as Derek. He is playing the part of the respectful commoner perfectly. Elente pauses, looking thoughtful. She whispers his name to herself, feeling like she has heard it somewhere before. The reputation of the Duplin tutor is starting to spread. She shakes it off and tells him to head up to the arena. She is ready to get this over with as fast as possible. As they walk, the old man watches Derek from behind, wondering if he is really a mage. He is thinking about why he looks so young. Elente is out on the floor, doing some stretches to warm up. She looks athletic and confident, clearly a noble who has put in the work. She looks over at Derek and asks if he knows the basic etiquette of a magic spar. She is treating him like a complete beginner. Derek just gives a short confirmation that he is familiar with the fundamentals. He is the king of understatements. Elente tells him to resist as much as he can because she wants to finish this quickly. She is already planning her victory. She is thinking to herself that if she just knocks him out of bounds with a single shockwave, the whole thing will be over in seconds. She has zero chill. Derek asks a very specific question about how much resistance she would prefer. It is a bit of a weird way to put it. Elente is totally confused, asking what kind of nonsense he is talking about. She is not used to punching bags having an opinion on how hard they get hit. Derek continues, asking how much resistance would actually be helpful to her training. He is looking at her with a calm, almost predatory gaze. The old teacher is shown in the background, shaking his head. He probably thinks Derek is just being arrogant or crazy. Elente lets out a short, dry laugh. She thinks he's joking, or maybe she's just annoyed by his weird attitude. She gives him a mocking smile, telling him he has got a funny way of talking and that she already told him what she wanted. We get a close-up of Derek's face as he falls silent. The air in the arena suddenly feels a whole lot heavier. He ignites a fierce blue mana in his hand, his eyes glowing with an intense power. He gives a simple acknowledgement, and you just know Elente is about to have a very bad day. The match is on. Derek is not here to be a human target. He has his own agenda. He asks Elente exactly how much resistance he should show to make her training actually worthwhile. Elente just lets out a dry little laugh, clearly not taking him seriously yet. She thinks this commoner is just trying to save face before he gets flattened. She tells him he has a funny way of talking and reminds him that she has already given her instructions. She is totally looking down on him, thinking she is already in control of this mental game. Derek just goes dead silent, his face half-shadowed as he processes her arrogance. You can tell the vibe just shifted from a spar to something way more dangerous, he says as she commands. Derek ignites a fierce blue mana in his hand, and his eyes are glowing with an intensity that would make a monster run for the hills. He stands ready as multiple glowing mana pillars form around him, lighting up the whole arena. This is definitely not what a punching bag is supposed to look like. Elente starts her own chant, thinking that while learning a one-star technique at his age is impressive, Derek is way too arrogant for his own good. She is still convinced she is the one in control here. She decides it is time to teach him a lesson about the wall that exists between nobles and commoners. She is about to drop a level of power he has never seen before. She unleashes a massive shockwave spell that absolutely shreds the floor of the arena. It is a huge area effect blast meant to end things in a single hit. We get a close-up of Derek's face, and he does not even blink as the wall of energy rushes toward him. He looks like he is just watching the weather. The entire area is engulfed in a massive explosion of mana and dust. Elente definitely is not holding back, even against a supposed commoner. As the smoke clears, Derek is shown standing perfectly still, his clothes not even singed. He did not just survive the attack, he completely tanked it without moving an inch. The destruction around him is massive, but he is just standing there like he is bored. It is the ultimate display of dominance. Elente is speechless, her hand still extended from the spell. She is staring at him in total disbelief, wondering how a one-star could possibly be this durable. Derek looks her right in the eye and asks when the next attack is coming. He is basically telling her to stop playing around and bring the heat. Elente is fuming now, her teeth grit as she realizes his earlier confidence was not just talk. She's about to take things to a whole new level of violence. She starts chanting again, and this time, the magic circles appearing around her are way more complex. She is done trying to play nice and is going for a total knockout. Massive mana spears erupt from the ground all around the arena, targeting Derek from every angle. She is literally turning the floor into a weapon. Elente is surrounded by a swirling storm of magic, looking like a true high noble mage. She is throwing everything she has into this next barrage. She screams that this ends it, unleashing a blinding beam of mana directly at Derek. She is not trying to train him anymore, she is trying to delete him. A barrage of glowing arrows streaks across the arena, filling the air with deadly light. It is a beautiful display of power, but also totally terrifying. Derek is a blur of motion, weaving through the arrows with perfect precision. He is moving so fast, it looks like he is teleporting through the fire. Elente's eyes widen in shock as she watches him dance through her unavoidable attack. She is starting to realize she might be outmatched. The mana arrows just shatter into pieces behind him, unable to even touch his cloak. Derek is playing on a completely different level of speed. Elente stands in the middle of the smoke, panting for air. She's already used a ton of mana, and her target is still looking fresh. She cannot wrap her head around it. It is just a simple spell, but she wonders how a commoner can control it with that much precision. She is having a total crisis of confidence. Even the old master in the background is impressed, realizing that Derek's claim of being a veteran mercenary was the absolute truth. The kid is a monster in human skin. Elente admits she underestimated him, but she is not done yet. She starts a massive fire-based chant that lights up the entire training ground with an orange glow. Flames erupt all around her, turning the arena into a literal oven. She has decided that if she cannot hit him with precision, she will just burn down the whole place. Derek notices the shift in her strategy instantly. He realizes she has stopped aiming for him directly and is planning to blow away the entire battlefield to catch him. Elente raises her hand, and dozens of fire spears form in the sky above. It looks like a meteor shower is about to hit the arena. The barrage begins, fire raining down from the heavens in a relentless torrent of heat and light. There is nowhere left to hide. Derek stands his ground as the fire rain closes in. It is a massive area effect attack designed to flush out anyone, no matter how fast they are. He looks up with a sharp gaze, thinking to himself that he cannot dodge this one. He knows he needs to change his tactics right now. He does not even flinch, creating a bright blue mana shield that expands around him like a bubble. The first fire spears slam into it with massive force. The impacts create a chain reaction of explosions all over his barrier. The ground is literally melting around him, but the shield holds firm. The relentless fire rain continues to pelt the arena, turning the entire scene into a chaotic mess of smoke and sparks. You cannot even see who is still standing. A huge pillar of dust and black smoke towers into the sky. Elente really went all out to make sure nothing could survive that. But wait. Derek emerges from the haze, looking slightly roughened up but still totally calm. He is brushing off some soot like it is just another Tuesday. Suddenly, Derek's eyes snap to the side as he notices something through the smoke. He has caught a glimpse of her next move. Elente lunges through the air, coming down like a lightning bolt with an ice spear ready. She is using the smoke as a distraction to get in close. Derek realizes he is in a tight spot. A point-blank ice spear means he does not have time to dodge or even deploy a full barrier. It is the perfect trap. He does not panic, though. He just raises his hand and snaps his fingers. He has his own counter ready for this exact moment. A massive burst of blinding white light explodes from his position, swallowing both of them in a second. It is a total sensory overload. Elente is caught right in the middle of the flash. She screams about her eyes as she is completely blinded in midair. Talk about a nasty counter. She is thrown backward by a physical shockwave, letting out a pained sound as she loses all her momentum. The punching bag just hit back hard. Elente is back on the ground, clutching her eyes and grit teeth in pain. She is totally vulnerable now, and she knows it. She tries to force herself to focus, telling herself that as long as she listens carefully, she can still react to his attacks. She just needs to find where he is hiding in the dark. Little does she know, a glowing mana spear is already hovering inches from her face while she is still recovering. The gap in their skill is becoming painfully obvious. The spear whizzes past her head, missing by a hair's breadth. It is like he is just playing with his food at this point. Elente is sweating bullets, her face pale as she realizes she did not hear anything. She is completely terrified now, realizing she cannot even trust her ears. Derek walks calmly through the dark space he created, 3 mana arrows circling him like loyal guards. He looks like a shadow demon in the middle of the arena. Another ice spear streaks past her, merely taking a piece of her hair with it. The pressure is becoming unbearable for the noble lady. Elente is dodging and weaving in a panic, trying to avoid attacks she cannot even see coming. She has completely lost her noble composure. Derek explains that it is a confusion-type spell that blocks all sound. He has literally taken away her ability to fight back properly. Elente realizes that the only reason he did not land his first attack was because he was setting up this elaborate trap. He has been in control of the match from the very first second. She looks at his cold, unmoving expression, and the terrifying realization hits her that he held back against her. She has finally realized just how outclassed she really is. Derek continues his slow, rhythmic walk toward her, letting the mana arrows trail behind him. He is giving her a front-row seat to her own defeat. Elente tries to regain her footing, shouting that there is not a chance as she prepares one last desperate spell. She is too proud to go down without a fight. We get an extreme close-up of her eye, which is now filled with a mix of fear and absolute determination. She is betting everything on this next move. Elente sees him closing the distance and thinks she has spotted a weakness. She thinks it is a mistake on his part, believing she can outcast him at close range. She gives a smug little grin, reminding herself that rapid spell activation is her absolute specialty. She thinks she's about to turn the tables on him. But Derek is already one step ahead, lunging forward with mana already manifesting from his hand. He's not giving her a single millisecond to breathe. Elente focuses all her energy, thinking she will cast first and finish it. She's going for a high-speed strike to end the match once and for all. A close-up shows his boot slamming down onto the arena floor. Something is about to happen, and it is definitely not coming from his hands. Derek kicks the ground or the air, creating a massive shockwave. Elente is sent flying backward like a rag doll from the sheer force of the impact. Her face is a mask of pure shock as she realizes she just got hit by something she never even considered. The rules of magic just went out the window. Purple lightning and mana sparks erupt from Derek's foot as it connects with the floor. He is literally channeling magic through his boots. Elente is tumbling through the air, her mind racing as she realizes the truth that he is casting magic from his feet. It is a total game changer. A massive explosion of purple mana follows the kick, engulfing Elente in a storm of energy. She lets out a pained sound as she is pinned against the wall. An overhead shot shows the massive scale of the destruction. Derek is chasing her down across the arena floor, not giving her a single chance to recover. The old teacher watches with a worried look, noting that it looks like the Wild School, but he cannot even begin to read the flow of his mana. He admits it is almost impossible to keep up with this kid's logic. Elente is slumped on the floor, looking up at Derek, who is standing over her like a vengeful god. The fight is clearly over. Surprisingly, she starts to smile, looking genuinely impressed. She tells him he is actually a pretty interesting one, finally acknowledging his skill. Derek just watches her with his usual deadpan expression, not giving anything away. He is waiting to see what she does next. Close up on Derek's boots as he walks closer. Elente admits that she looked down on him at first, thinking he was just a loud-mouthed braggart. They are standing face to face now, and she is finally being honest about her own prejudice. She has learned the hard way that you cannot judge a book by its cover. She bows her head slightly, hand on her chest, and admits that he showed her something interesting. She is finally showing him some real respect. She looks up with a broad, genuine smile and gives him a sincere thanks. It looks like she has finally accepted her defeat gracefully. But the moment is not over yet. A huge bolt of purple electricity suddenly arcs between them, lighting up the whole arena. We get a close-up of Derek's face as he is engulfed in that same purple mana. He looks absolutely terrifying right now, like he's about to drop a tactical nuke. A massive magical circle appears under their feet, and purple energy pillars shoot into the sky. The power level here is just going off the charts. Elente is caught right in the epicenter of the new blast, letting out a final scream as she is totally overwhelmed by the power. Derek is shown in midair above her, looking down with glowing red eyes. He looks like he has finally finished the job. Extreme close-up of his red eyes glowing through the haze. He looks more like a high-tier villain than a commoner right now. Elente is shown looking up in pure terror. This was not a spar anymore. This was a demolition. Derek is midair, coming down with a massive physical strike while Elente is pinned to the ground. The punching bag has officially turned into the Predator, and the power dynamic in this arena just took a nosedive. We get an extreme close-up of Derek's red eyes glowing with an intense, predatory light. He looks absolutely terrifying right now, like he is ready to end this spar with zero mercy. Elente looks up in total shock and fear, her eyes wide as she realizes just how much she underestimated this commoner. She is completely at his mercy, and the noble pride is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, a loud sound rings out as a golden bell is shown swinging. It is the signal that the match is officially over. The old magic instructor is the one ringing the bell, stepping in before someone actually gets seriously hurt. He is calling an end to the training session that turned into a demolition. Derek steps back, his boots landing firmly on the stone floor while Elente stays collapsed in the background. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a sword. Derek walks away calmly, telling Elente she fought well. He is back to his usual stoic self, while Elente is left gasping for air and trying to process what just happened. Elente stares after him, sweat dripping down her face and her expression a mix of confusion and awe. She is speechless, realizing that for the first time, a commoner just handed her a total defeat. The scene shifts to a fancy outdoor gazebo where the two are now sitting down for some post-match tea. It is a much more civilized atmosphere, but the weight of the fight is still hanging over them. Elente takes a sip of her tea and admits that Derek is quite the impressive mage. Derek just gives a humble response and redirects the praise back to her, playing the part of the polite commoner again. She notes that she heard he was a commoner, but seeing his skill in person has clearly changed her perspective. She is starting to see the man behind the mercenary tag. Derek looks off to the side, his red eyes narrowed as he prepares to speak. He has that look of someone who is about to drop some hard truth on her. Elente smiles and tells him to stop with the humility, saying she likes people who work hard. She gestures toward the old instructor, noting that the old guy probably does not share her sentiment. Derek watches the old man in the background, thinking that he probably does not like him very much. He has been told to try and stay on the instructor's good side, which is easier said than done. Elente mentions another match coming up at the Rosea Salon, clearly thinking about her next challenge. She has a fire in her eyes that was not there before the spar. Derek looks at her and says he doubts she has much to worry about. He is giving her a rare bit of encouragement, even in his own deadpan way. Elente sets her teacup down with a firm sound and declares she is not interested in beating a bunch of nobodies. She is aiming for a much bigger target. The vision of her true goal appears. Iselime Eleanor Duplin. It turns out Elente's ultimate ambition is to defeat the top-tier noble she has been compared to her whole life. Elente repeats the name Iselime Eleanor Duplin with a look of pure, focused aggression. The rivalry here is clearly personal and very, very deep. Derek just stays silent, those red eyes taking in her declaration. He is not judging, just analyzing the situation like the pro he is. Elente realizes she has been ranting and tells Derek he should get going. She is trying to play it cool again, but the truth is already out. Derek walks away through the courtyard, his cloak billowing behind him. He has finished his job as a punching bag and is heading back to his own world. Elente is left alone with her tea, thinking about Derek of the Beldon Mercenary Company. She has realized that name carries more weight than she first thought. She takes a thoughtful sip, noting to herself that the name sounds strangely familiar. The pieces are starting to click together in her head. We get a quick flashback of Azeline smiling and saying that the gentleman's name is Derek. This was the moment Elente first heard of him, and now it all makes sense. Elente's eye snaps open in an extreme close-up of pure realization. She finally remembers where she heard that name and who he really is. The scene cuts back to Derek walking down a sunlit path, looking totally unbothered. He has no idea that his cover in high society just got blown wide open. A flashback of their fight shows Derek grabbing Elente's wrist with brutal efficiency. She is reliving the moment she realized she was outclassed. The flashback continues with a dynamic shot of their magic clashing in the arena. It was a beautiful but violent display that she will not be forgetting anytime soon. Derek looks back over his shoulder with those piercing red eyes. He's the most interesting thing to happen to Elente in years, and she's not going to let him go easily. Back in the present, Elente has a dark, determined smirk as she realizes it was him. The mercenary tutor secret is out, and she is ready to use it to her advantage. The sun sets over the city, casting a warm orange glow over the buildings. It is a peaceful transition before the next big conversation. Inside a lavish room, a fire crackles in the hearth with a sharp sound. The atmosphere is cozy, but the conversation is about to get very serious. Derek and Alente are sitting by the fire now. She gets straight to the point, telling him she is willing to do anything if it means beating Azaline. She is officially hiring him for her own mission. Derek sits in the warm firelight, listening intently. He has transitioned from punching bag to potential secret weapon in a matter of hours. Alente explains that Azaline has not reached the 2-star rank yet either, but it would be best if she could reach it first. She is obsessed with gaining any edge she can over her rival. Derek notes that her competitive spirit is quite intense, which is his polite way of saying she is acting like a crazy person. Alente just scoffs, saying he sure knows how to dress things up nicely. She admits that she wanted to beat Azaline so badly that she was not above doing some ugly things. She is laying her cards on the table, showing him the dark side of noble rivalry. Derek watches her closely, his face half-shadowed by the fire. He's seen the real Alente now, stripped of all the noble etiquette. A close-up of her reflection in the teacup accompanies her confession that jealousy is filthy and ugly. She is self-aware enough to know she is being consumed by her own envy. She continues, saying that no matter how much she schemed or tried to find flaws, it was never enough. Azaline is just that perfect, which only makes the jealousy worse. Derek simply asks why she is telling him all this. He is not a therapist. He is a mercenary who wants to know what his next job is. Alente holds her teacup tightly as she stares into the liquid. The firelight reflects the intensity of her feelings. She says she wants him to know that she is being sincere. She's trying to build a bridge of trust with the one person who can actually help her achieve her dream. She leans back, looking regal even in her desperation, and tells him there are a few things she wants to ask. This is where the real negotiation begins. Derek tells her to go ahead. He is ready to play along as the price is right. The camera zooms out to show the wide, dark room as she asks just how skilled Azaline really is. Since he lived with the Duplanes, she thinks he has the inside scoop on her rival's power. We get an extreme close-up of Alente's orange eyes. They are filled with an intense, burning need for information. Derek looks into the fire, carefully choosing his words. He is the only person who can give her the honest answer she is looking for. A vision of the perfect, blue-haired Azaline appears as Alente asks the million-dollar question about what she should do to defeat her. Derek stays silent for a long moment, the flickering fire the only movement in the room. The suspense is building as he weighs his answer. He admits that Azaline's skill is extraordinary, but adds that Alente is also extremely talented. He is being honest, but you can tell there is a caveat coming. He tells her that if she continues honing her skills diligently, sometimes you can read a person's heart just by looking at them. Alente cuts through the fluff, saying she did not ask the question just to hear empty praise. She wants results, not compliments. The narration notes that she's desperate. She's willing to seek answers from a lowly mercenary just to find a path to victory. They sit in the vast, candlelit room, two small figures compared to the grandeur of the mansion. It is a classic deal with the devil setup. Close-up of Derek's mouth as he prepares to drop the truth. The mood in the room just got ice cold. He tells her that she will never beat her. Derek says it with zero emotion, just stating a cold, hard fact. Reality check. Alente is stunned into silence, her face a mask of disbelief and brewing anger. She was not expecting her potential savior to tell her she is a lost cause. We see Derek's eye in a sharp close-up. He is not being mean. He is just telling her the truth based on what he has seen. He is a realist to the core. Alente grits her teeth, her jaw set in a line of pure defiance. She is not going to take that answer lying down. She declares that she still wants to beat her. Even if it is impossible, she will. She is doubling down on her obsession, refusing to accept the wall in front of her. Derek just watches her in silence. He is clearly impressed by her grit, even if he thinks she's being a bit delusional about the odds. Alente stands up and slams her hands on the table. She points out that he turned the reckless Diella into a proper mage, so he should be able to do the same for her. She is using his own success story as leverage. She gets right in his face with her eyes blazing. She demands to know if he can make her strong enough to beat Azaline. She is practically begging for a miracle. Derek looks down and stays quiet. He's weighing the situation and thinking about the insane amount of effort and pain it would take to actually pull that off. He finally admits that it is not like there is no method worth trying, but he adds that there is something concerning him first. Here comes the fine print. Alente gets a satisfied smirk and leans back into her chair. She thinks they are finally getting somewhere and is ready for whatever he says next. Derek starts listing his conditions. He starts with his mercenary logic, making sure she knows this is a business deal first. He reminds her of exactly how he trained Diella. We see a flashback of the younger sister crying on the floor after being pushed to her absolute limit. He is warning her that this is not a game. We get a chilling visual of Derek holding a sword over a terrified Yahello. He is making it very clear that his methods are borderline abusive and extremely brutal. The silhouette of the training session from hell emphasizes how far he is willing to go to get results. He is making sure she knows what she is signing up for. Elente looks down and admits she does not know all the details, but she tells him not to worry. She repeats that she will do anything to win, showing she is fully committed to the grind. Then comes the second condition. Derek points out that he is a mercenary, which carries a heavy social stigma. He is making her acknowledge the scandal that would erupt if anyone found out a noble lady was learning from him. Elente scoffs at the idea of worrying about noble dignity. She is already over the social nonsense if it stands in the way of her power. She leans in with a dead serious expression. She declares that she is going to become someone whose name is known across the entire empire. This is about her legacy, not just a rivalry. Derek just listens with a calm face. He has seen a lot of people with big dreams, and he is waiting to see if she can actually back it up. She stands up with her eyes burning with ambition. She shouts that she knows there are things far more important than pride. She is really getting into the speech now. Derek just stares at her for a long second as the silence in the room becomes heavy. The air is practically crackling with the weight of her words. He breaks the tension with a blunt refusal. He is not moved by her big speech. He clarifies that since he is a mercenary, he is simply saying she will need to pay him. Practicality wins over poetry every time. Elente is left completely speechless, her mouth hanging open in a silent shock. She was expecting a deep philosophical answer and got a bill instead. She starts blushing furiously and looks away as she realizes she totally misread the vibe. Her noble ambition moment just got crushed by cold, hard economics. She hugs herself and stammers about the money, quickly agreeing to pay as much as he wants. She is dying of embarrassment right now. We see a close-up of the back of her head as she wonders why the room feels so hot. It is not the room. It is her pride melting away. The final shot shows Derek's red eyes glowing as he thinks to himself. If she is truly serious, then he will have to use a truly brutal method as well. The real training arc is about to get intense. A serene angel statue stands tall against a bright blue sky, watching over the prestigious grounds of the noble district. It is a peaceful start to a day that is definitely about to get complicated. Lady Iceline looks radiant as she mentions that the upcoming social gathering will include a magic duel segment. She has that effortless noble grace that makes even a declaration of war sound like a tea invitation. The nobles are all excited, realizing it is time for another gathering where they can show off. Elente watches from the sidelines with a determined look, knowing she has to make her move soon. Isoline remains humble, even when her peers are singing her praises. She is the literal shining flower of the Duplain bloodline, and she knows how to play the part to perfection. Elente arrives on the scene looking sharp and ready to stir the pot. She has a fire in her eyes that says she is tired of being in Isoline's shadow. The group of noble ladies gathers on the balcony, their fans fluttering as they gossip. Elente cuts right through the noise, letting them know she heard Isoline's voice from all the way down the hall. A few other nobles watch from a distance, wondering if they should interrupt. It is a classic standoff in the making, and everyone is holding their breath. Elente challenges Acelime, asking if the shining flower has ever actually tasted defeat. She is poking the bear, testing to see if Aceline's humble facade will crack. Aceline just gives a polite smile and thanks her for the flattery. She is a master of deflecting tension with a kind word, making it impossible for Elente to get a real reaction. The conversation shifts to tutoring, with Elente admitting she feels more confident thanks to her new hire. The other nobles find it unusual that she would personally scout a commoner, but Elente is not backing down. Elente leans in, revealing that the one who actually vouched for the tutor's abilities was Lady Isoline herself. She is playing a dangerous game and loving every second of it. The big reveal hits when Elente announces her new tutor is none other than Derek. She says the name with a smug little grin, knowing exactly how much weight it carries. Azeline looks genuinely surprised as she processes the news. She recommended him, sure, but she probably did not expect him to be snatched up so quickly by a rival house. Elente is gloating internally, betting that Iceline is frustrated. She is thinking that the man Iceline could not hold on to is now hers. Azeline quickly recovers her composure and gives a soft reaction. She is too polite to show any real jealousy, but the gears are definitely turning behind those calm eyes. She reaches out and gently touches Elente's hair, offering her sincere congratulations. It is a total power move, answering Elente's spite with genuine kindness. Azeline beams a warm smile, looking like the perfect, supportive friend. She is so pure it is almost suspicious, and it is clearly throwing Elente for a loop. Elente gives a hesitant thank you, her face flushing with a mix of embarrassment and confusion. She came here for a fight and got a blessing instead. Aisline looks down at her notes, her expression turning thoughtful. She's already thinking ahead, likely wondering how Derek's new position will affect the balance of power. She turns to Diella and suggests she might need some extra tutoring from Derek as well. She has noticed Diella's growth has stalled and thinks Derek is the one to fix it. Diella looks absolutely horrified and frantically refuses. She is terrified of Derek's brutal teaching style and wants absolutely nothing to do with him again. Isaline hums to herself, deep in thought, while Elente watches her from the side. The tension between the two has not dissipated, it is just gone beneath the surface. Elente gives a wicked little smirk, thinking that Aisline finally understands what it means to lose a toy. She is convinced she has won this round of psychological warfare. In the background, Elente is practically cackling while Aisline tries to process the situation. She is telling her rival to let the anger out, totally misinterpreting her calm. She asks Aisline for more details about Derek, likely trying to bait her into saying something negative. She is fishing for any sign of bitterness. Elente waves a cheerful goodbye, saying she is off to her first tutoring session. She's practically skipping away, leaving Aisline alone with her thoughts. Aisline watches her go with an unreadable expression. She knows Derek is not the type to do anything terrible, but she is still clearly concerned about what is to come. We get a close-up on Aisline's worried face. She is a good person, and likely worries that Elente's ambition might lead her into a situation she cannot handle. The noble gathering continues in the background while Elente disappears into the distance. It is a peaceful scene, but we know the real storm is brewing elsewhere. Another noble lady sips her tea, commenting that everyone is just working hard to make a living. It is a bit of casual classism to end the scene, reminding us of the divide between them and the mercenary. Back in the city, the Belden's Tears Tavern stands as a beacon for the weary. It is a much more grounded setting after all that noble posturing. Jaden leans over the bar and asks Derek why his workload keeps piling up. He is skeptical about this new tutoring gig for the Earl. Derek takes a calm swig of his drink, looking totally unfazed. He knows that he does not even need to make a long trip to the estate this time, which is a nice bonus. Jaden laughs and says he makes it sound way too easy. He asks if Elente can really beat Lady Isaline in a head-on match, even with Derek's help. Derek looks down into his mug with his red eyes glowing. He admits that, while it is not impossible, it is going to be an uphill battle for his new pupil. He notes that as long as Elente can break through to the 2-star level, she might stand a chance. He is being a realist, not a cheerleader. Jaden hoists a massive barrel onto his shoulder and asks Derek for his most realistic plan. He knows Derek always has a trick up his sleeve. Derek looks off to the side with a serious face. He tells Jaden that he has a plan, but it is going to be fundamentally dangerous. Jaden pauses with a look of total confusion. He is used to Derek being reckless, but this sounds like it is on a whole new level. Derek explains that to guarantee a safe environment for the training, they are going to need Peeline's help. He's pulling in the whole crew for this one. Jaden just stares at him with the barrel still on his shoulder. He is processing the fact that Derek is about to do something truly insane. He calls Derek out, saying he is clearly planning something reckless that does not make any sense. He is the voice of reason that Derek usually ignores. Derek doubles down and tells Uncle Jaden that the entire plan is fundamentally dangerous. He is not sugarcoating it for his boss. We cut to Pauline, who is absolutely wasted and crying on the bar. She is wailing about scammers and how they drained her money down to the last coin. Jaden and Derek just stare at her in dead silence. It is a hilarious contrast to the serious conversation they were just having. Jaden sighs and pushes some money across the bar, telling Pauline to just take it and stop the drama. She is the chaotic heart of this group. The sun rises over a beautiful estate, marking the start of the first tutoring session. It is a gorgeous morning for some brutal magic training. Elente stands in her training gear, looking focused and ready. Derek has arrived to officially start the lessons in the form of live combat training. Derek tells her they are going to start with 10 consecutive rounds of combat. He wants to observe her actual abilities before they dive into the finer details of her magic. He adjusts his gloves, looking like a professional mercenary. He is not here for a lecture. He is here for a fight. Elente smirks, noting that his methods are brutal just like his mercenary background. She is not intimidated. She is excited to finally get some real training. Derek manifests a swirl of blue mana in his hand, his eyes glowing. He tells her that if she is ready, they will begin. The gentle part of the session is over. The training ground is a mess of broken wood and dust, showing that the combat has been intense. Derek is not pulling his punches. Elente is shown gasping for air, her face red with exertion. She is being pushed to her absolute physical and magical limit. Derek stands over her and thanks her for her hard work. He tells her to rest for 10 minutes before they discuss magic theory, which sounds like heaven compared to the fighting. Elente looks absolutely spent, gasping that she does not have a single drop of mana left. She is completely drained after just the first few rounds. Derek just gives her a cold look, telling her that if she pushes herself, he is sure there is still mana left to draw from. He is a very demanding teacher. Alente forces herself to focus, creating a barrage of ice spears despite her exhaustion. Derek shouts for her to do it again, showing no mercy. He tells her she is still 5 spears short, asking what else she is capable of if she cannot even do this. He is tearing down her ego to build up her power. Night falls, and Alente is still at it, gasping that she really does not have anything left. Derek just commands her to create one more arrow instead of making excuses. Alente is shown collapsed on the ground, the sound of her heavy breathing highlighting how broken she is. This is the mercenary way of teaching. She is lying on her back looking up at the sky, while Derek looms over her. He is a dark silhouette against the moonlight. He asks if she is alright, adding that if she truly feels incapable, giving up is always an option. He is testing her resolve one last time. Alente bolts upright with a start, her eyes burning with defiance. There is no way she is letting a commoner see her quit. She gives a determined smile, asking if he is really telling her to give up after just a little training like this. She has that noble grit after all. She laughs about how she had to survive in cutthroat high society just to get this far. To her, this physical pain is nothing compared to the social warfare she is used to. Derek looks down with his face in shadow. He realizes he might have underestimated the noble lady's mental toughness. Alente stands up and walks away, telling him she is a bit tired but will show him her true abilities tomorrow. She gives him a confident look over her shoulder, telling him he better ramp up the intensity from now on. She is finally embracing the madness. Derek asks about her plan for tomorrow. He has a look on his face that suggests he is not done with her for the night. Alente pauses with a confused response. She thought she was finally free to go. Derek stares her down with a chilling intensity, his red eyes glowing in the dark. He tells her that right now is merely her dinner break. The final wide shot shows the two of them standing on the training grounds under a beautiful purple sky. The real training from hell is just getting started. The sun is blazing over the estate, but there is no time for a break. Derek is already on Alente's case, shouting for her to push past her limits because she can definitely do more. Alente is struggling hard, her hands shaking as she tries to manifest mana while sweating buckets. Derek just stands behind her like a stone statue, watching her yell in frustration. She is completely winded, but Derek is a savage. He tells her she needs 10 more arrows. Alente looks like she is about to pass out, wondering why the goal keeps moving further away. Next up is a grueling run around the garden, and Derek is barely even breaking a sweat. He calmly tells her that if she stops running, they are just going to switch to more magic practice, so she better keep those legs moving. Alente finally hits her limit and collapses into a chair, looking like a discarded rag doll. She's absolutely done with this training for the day. Derek actually shows a tiny bit of concern, leaning over to ask if she is still alive. Alente gives him a half-dead smile and somehow manages to gasp out that this is fun. She is clearly lying to herself. Derek does not do gentle, though. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her that if she cannot handle the heat, giving up is a perfectly valid strategy. Alente is not having any of that quitter talk. She gives him a smug, sweaty grin and insists that she is not giving up, claiming that this entire ordeal is just a breeze for her. We get a sharp close-up of Derek's red eyes. He's analyzing her, seeing if that noble pride is just for show or if she actually has the grit to continue. He decides she is rested enough and immediately calls for their next duel. Alente is totally blindsided, stammering that she literally just sat down. Welcome to the mercenary grind. 2 weeks later and the noble garden is looking peaceful as ever. But we know that behind the scenes, Alente is probably being worked like a farm horse. She's found sprawled over a table in a courtyard, looking completely drained. She asks Lady Denise to give her a nudge when Aizelin arrives, since she is too tired to even keep her eyes open. Alente is practically melting into the stone table, thanking Denise for the help. She admits she's been totally out of it lately, and you can see why. Denise pauses her reading and looks concerned for her friend. She finally asks the million-dollar question about why exactly Alente is pushing herself to the point of collapse. The silence stretches out as Alente stays slumped over, face hidden in her arms. The weight of her ambition is clearly heavy. She finally looks up, her eyes dull with exhaustion. She gives the only answer that matters. She is doing it to win. Nothing else is acceptable. Denise is stunned into silence by the sheer intensity in Alente's gaze. She was not expecting such a blunt and desperate answer. Denise looks back down at her book as the realization sinks in. She's beginning to understand the depth of the rivalry she is witnessing. Denise gives a soft, supportive smile and tells Alente to stay strong. She promises to be cheering for her, which is probably the first bit of genuine kindness Alente has felt in weeks. Denise suddenly spots something off-screen, her expression shifting to one of mild surprise. It is Lady Aizelin arriving with her typical entourage of admirers. She looks flawless, as if she has not spent a single second of her life sweating or struggling. Elente bolts upright like she just got electrocuted. The exhausted girl persona vanishes instantly as she prepares to face her rival. We get a shot of Aislinn looking like a literal angel in the sunlight. She is the personification of perfection, which is exactly what drives Elente crazy. Elente is frantically fixing her hair and adjusting her dress, trying to look like she has been having a peaceful tea time. She is terrified of looking weak in front of Aislinn. The group of noble ladies decides to head off to a new clothing store, and attention breaks for a second. Elente watches them go, her face still flushed with panic. She stays seated, watching their retreating backs while the sweat starts to bead on her forehead again. That was a close call. The moment they are out of sight, she collapses back into her state of exhaustion. She asks Denise if they are finally gone, looking completely traumatized. She lets out a massive sigh, worrying that Aislinn saw her sprawled out like a commoner. Denise tries to reassure her that she probably did not notice, but Elente is not convinced. We get a flashback of Aislinn glancing over her shoulder, looking back at where Elente was sitting. She definitely saw something. Aislinn is shown looking genuinely worried for her friend. She thinks to herself that Elente looks incredibly exhausted and wonders if she is actually going to be okay. The scene shifts to Elente's house under a gloomy, dark sky. The atmosphere is getting a lot heavier as the pressure mounts. Inside, Elente is in the middle of getting her hair brushed when her maid brings in a delivery. Apparently, a gift has just arrived from the Duplain family. The gift box is filled with expensive-looking potions and a neatly folded letter. It is a care package from the most powerful family in the district. Elente realizes that Aislinn sent these items specifically to help with mana recovery. To anyone else, it is a kind gesture, but to Elente, it feels like an insult. She snaps at the maid, telling her to throw it all away immediately. The poor maid is absolutely baffled, wondering why her mistress would toss out such valuable goods. Elente stands by the window with her back turned and her posture stiff. She repeats the command with ice in her voice, demanding that the gift be removed from her sight. The next morning, Elente is preparing for another session. She asks the maid if Derek has arrived yet, and the maid confirms he has been setting up since dawn. The letter from Aislinn sits abandoned on the table. It is filled with flowery language about the approaching winter and staying warm, which only serves to make Elente feel more inferior. As the maid brushes her hair, the contents of the letter continue. Aislinn is writing about how she hopes everyone is staying cozy during the cold season. Elente's expression is grim as the letter mentions the high-quality goods Aislinn is sharing. To Elente, this is not sharing. It is a perfect person showing off their abundance. A shot shows other noble girls delightedly opening their own gift boxes. Aislinn's kindness is universal, which makes it even harder for Elente to bear. A close-up on Elente's mouth shows her gritting her teeth. She looks absolutely miserable, drowning in her own resentment toward Aislinn's perfection. Out in the courtyard, Derek is sitting on a bench, deep in one of his magic books. He is the only calm point in Elente's chaotic world right now. He looks up from his book with sharp red eyes. He has noticed her approaching and is already in work mode. Derek notes that she is early, but Elente is not in the mood for talk. She tells him they are short on time and to skip the pleasantries so they can get to work. Derek pauses, giving her a confused look. He is used to her being intense, but today she seems on the verge of an explosion. Elente starts stretching, asking for his honest assessment of her progress. She is desperate for some validation after being triggered by Aislinn's letter. Derek just stares at her for a long second, his expression unreadable. He is deciding whether to give her the comfort she wants or the truth she needs. He stands up and delivers a verbal slap, saying that giving up is also a valid strategy. That has to sting. Elente stops in her tracks and looks away. The comment clearly hit a nerve she was not prepared for. She looks back at him with a pained, angry expression. She tells him he really knows how to get under someone's skin, sounding like she's about to snap. Derek looks down, apologizing if his words sounded harsh. He is not being mean, just being a mercenary who deals in cold realities. Elente is not having it. She yells that she asked for an assessment, not for him to tell her to quit. She is absolutely fuming. She gets right in his personal space, her eyes glowing with fury. She shouts that she did not hire him just to hear him tell her to give up. She hired him to win. We get a low-angle shot of Derek as he takes the verbal beating. He's letting her vent all that pent-up frustration. Elente continues her rant, telling him that if he is just going to spout nonsense, he should just get lost. She is claiming he is wasting her time. Suddenly, her posture breaks and she covers her face. She asks what it even matters if she cannot win, her voice finally cracking. Derek starts to say that sometimes, humbly accepting defeat is the right choice, but he gets cut off before he can finish. We see a close-up of her eye through her fingers, and it is full of tears. She cries out that if she just accepts it, she would be too pathetic. A close-up of Derek's red eyes shows him watching her mask finally crumble, exposing the raw insecurity underneath. Elente is in full meltdown mode now, tears streaming down her face. She is confessing that she is the kind of awful person who badmouths Aizelin because she cannot handle how perfect she is. She clutches her throat, calling herself an awful person through her sobs. She is finally letting out all the self-hatred she has been bottling up. In a dramatic shot, she doubles over in grief. She screams that she has admitted everything, all the jealousy and the bitterness. She looks up at the sky, her face contorted in agony. She is screaming about just how immature and pathetic she really is. She clutches her arm, her body shaking as she cries. The proud, noble lady is gone, replaced by a broken girl in a garden. Derek just stands there, watching her wail. She admits she knows she does not actually have a single reason to hate Aizelin, which only makes her feel worse. Elente is clutching her chest, sobbing and wondering why she's like this. We get a flashback to that firelight meeting where she told Derek she was serious about winning, even if it meant exposing her deepest flaws. The narration tells us the truth that Elente did not hate Aizelin. She harbored a deep sense of self-loathing. In another flashback, she asks what she has to do to beat Aizelin. You can see the desperation that has been driving her this entire time. The narration points out that while it looked like jealousy or a competitive streak, what she really hated most was herself. Back in the present, Elente is hunched over crying while Derek stands behind her in the quiet morning light. Elente looks down, tears falling onto her dress. She has finally reached the bottom of her emotional pit. Derek's boots click on the stone as he walks toward her. The narration explains that this fight is not about petty jealousy. It is her only escape from her own inferiority complex. Elente wipes her eyes, her face still red and tear-stained. She looks like she has just survived a war. Derek stands beside her and delivers the line we have been waiting for. He tells her that they should win together. He is finally fully on board. He gives her a determined, serious look. He promises that he will make sure she beats Lady Aizelin. This is no longer just a tutoring job, it is a mission. Elente looks up as the sunlight breaks through the clouds. The shadow is gone, and she is ready to start the real training. We open on a carriage traveling through a vast golden field under a beautiful blue sky. It is a peaceful scene, but we know noble business usually brings trouble along for the ride. The sound of hooves hitting the pavement echoes as the horses gallop forward. They are moving with some serious urgency toward their destination. The carriage finally stops and an old bald man steps out. He announces that they have arrived, looking like a man who is ready to get some work done. The old man pauses for a second, looking up with an impressed expression. He is taking in the surroundings of the capital for the first time in a while. He is standing before a massive, towering noble estate that practically screams wealth and power. Even for a high-ranking servant, this place is something else. A man in a red military-style coat greets him at the entrance and asks if his journey went smoothly. The old man bows respectfully in return. The lord gives a warm, welcoming smile, looking like the ultimate host. He tells the traveler that the trip must have been exhausting and invites him to take a seat and rest. Inside the lavish lounge, the lord gets straight to the point and asks how she is doing. The old man reports that the lady is putting in a great deal of effort into her magic training lately. The lord laughs proudly, boasting that he has never seen a girl with talent quite like Elente's. He is confident that with her potential, she will be surpassing him in no time. The old man smiles along, but he is internally panicking. He thinks to himself that he absolutely cannot let the lord find out his daughter is being tutored by a commoner. The lord stands up, mentioning that he actually has some business to attend to in Eberstein himself. The old man can only manage a nervous response as his secret hangs by a thread. The lord has a mischievous glint in his eye as he thinks about showing up unexpectedly with a gift. He is genuinely curious to see the look on his daughter's face. A close-up of the lord shows him twirling his mustache with a smug, satisfied grin. He is clearly a man who enjoys surprising people, especially his own family. The old man is forced to play along, offering a nervous laugh and saying he is sure the lady will be thrilled. This is a very high-stress job. The scene shifts to the outskirts of Eberstein at night, where a creepy stone entrance is carved into a cliffside. Welcome to the nameless labyrinth, which definitely looks like a place where dreams go to die. A close-up of a boot stepping onto the grass sets a heavy tone. Someone is thinking that something still feels very off about this entire setup. The whole crew is gathered, including Elente, Derek, Jaden, and Pelline. Pelline is skeptical, asking if sending someone as fragile as Elente into a dungeon is actually a good idea, but Jaden trusts Derek's judgment. Elente looks absolutely horrified as the realization hits her. She asks if she really has to go into that dungeon, while Derek coldly reminds her it is just a low-ranked area she can handle. Elente is clutching her chest, nervously asking if she just needs to charge in and attack the monsters. She is definitely not feeling the warrior spirit right now. Derek explains the harsh reality. She needs to sharpen her instincts to real combat. He promises that he and his colleagues will be watching her back, but the work is all on her. Elente looks like she is about to cry, asking if he is seriously not kidding. Derek just holds up a glowing mana stone, his face as expressionless as a wall. Peeline and Jaden start walking toward the entrance, with Peeline noting that they are short on time. They are treating this like a quick errand, which is definitely not helping Elente's anxiety. Elente stands there frozen, her hand reaching out as she stares into the dark abyss of the dungeon. She looks like she is about to enter a nightmare. A high-angle shot shows the group tiny against the massive stone floor of the labyrinth. The scale of this place is terrifying, and the darkness ahead is absolute. Elente is trembling as she looks into the void, asking what could possibly be lurking in there. The sound of dripping water adds to the creepy atmosphere. Derek walks past her without a single word of comfort, only telling her to prepare herself. This guy really is the ultimate hard-mode tutor. We get a close-up of Derek's glowing red eyes in the dark as he hears something approaching. A sudden sound means the piece is about to end. Peeline narrows her eyes, her golden gaze piercing through the shadows. She is the group's radar and has already picked up on the incoming threat. Peeline announces that a horde of goblins is heading their way, sending Elente into a full-blown panic. She shrieks in fear and looks like she wants to run. Jaden holds his torch high, looking behind them as he spots an even bigger problem. He warns Derek that there is an ogre behind them. Elente's eyes practically pop out of her head. Jaden draws his massive greatsword, asking Derek if he can handle the ogre while wearing a confident smirk. He is actually enjoying the prospect of a real fight. Derek's hand glows with blue mana as he prepares to engage. He notes that they can discuss the mercenary fee later, always thinking about the paycheck. Red eyes glow in the darkness as the monsters close in with a screech. Derek stands calm, his white hair a stark contrast to the shadows. Elente is shaking like a leaf, whispering that they are really going to fight monsters. She is finally realizing that this is not a classroom exercise anymore. A nasty-looking goblin with a spear screeches as it charges from the darkness. The fight is officially on. Derek's gloved hand reaches for his hilt, drawing his sword in one smooth motion. The sound of steel marks the beginning of the end for these monsters. Derek lunges forward, his hand extended as he targets a group of goblins. He looks like a total pro, moving with a grace that hides his lethal intent. Elente is shown in a state of pure shock, her mouth open and her eyes wide with fear. She is witnessing a level of violence she never thought possible. Derek charges into the fray, his blade glowing with a bright blue mana. He looks absolutely focused, like he is just doing another day at the office. He slashes through a goblin in a blur of motion, blood spraying everywhere. The creature screams as it is easily dismantled by the mercenary tutor. Peeline jumps into the air, drawing back her bowstring with a fierce exclamation. Her movements are efficient and athletic, showing exactly why she is a top-tier mercenary. Her arrow streaks through the air, hitting a goblin right between the eyes. The monster goes down instantly, not even knowing what hit it. Derek delivers a massive upward slash, his sword leaving a trail of blue energy in its wake. He is a whirlwind of destruction in the center of the room. He carves through another goblin, blood splattering the stone walls as he moves to the next target. He is not even breaking a sweat. Derek unleashes a point-blank fire spell, incinerating a goblin in a burst of intense orange flames. The creature lets out one last scream before being silenced. Peeline stands ready with another arrow, her expression one of cold professionalism. She is covering the angles while Derek handles the front line. Derek stands over a pile of goblin corpses, his blade dripping with blood. The efficiency of his combat is honestly kind of terrifying to watch. More goblins are shown being taken out by arrows and sword strikes. The mercenary crew is making short work of the horde. Elente is hyperventilating, looking like she is about to pass out from the sheer intensity. The sound of her own heavy breathing is all she can hear. A close-up of Elente's terrified eye shows a new shadow looming over her. She lets out a pained sound as the real threat appears. The massive, blue-skinned ogre steps into the torchlight, its yellow eyes glowing with hunger. It towers over Jaden, making even the large mercenary look small. Jaden is not intimidated at all, looking up at the beast with a fierce, challenging grin. He is ready to take the ogre's head as a trophy. The ogre lets out a deafening roar as it lunges at Jaden, its massive arm swinging like a tree trunk. The speed of the creature is surprising for its size. Jaden slides under the attack, his greatsword carving a massive wound into the ogre's leg. Blood sprays as the mercenary captain shows off his veteran skills. A massive spray of blood covers the floor as another monster is decisively finished. The combat is getting increasingly messy and brutal. A goblin is shown running while engulfed in flames, a testament to Derek's ruthless magic. The entire hall is filled with the smell of smoke and death. A sword blade pierces right through a goblin's throat, blood erupting as the creature chokes. No mercy is being shown today. Elente is back on her knees, watching the carnage in horror. She stammers in realization that he actually killed those goblins. A close-up shows her face drenched in cold sweat. She thinks she could seriously die there and that this is all insane. Her spirit is completely broken. Suddenly, she looks up with a look of pure, paralyzing terror. She has spotted something coming for her, and she is too scared to even move. Derek shouts a warning from across the room. He tells her that one of the goblins is heading right for her and orders her to keep her wits about her. He is not coming to save her. Elente sees a goblin leaping at her from a high ledge, its eyes glowing with bloodlust. Her doom is approaching fast. The goblin lands right in front of her, the impact sending up a cloud of dust. It is snarling and ready to tear her apart. Elente tries to scramble away, tears streaming down her face. She is convinced she is really going to die. Derek looms over her with his red eyes blazing in an intense, scary focus. He commands her to defeat it herself, his voice like iron. Elente is shown in a daze, her eyes glowing an eerie orange as she thinks about her entire life. Something deep inside her is finally starting to trigger. She admits her own flaws to herself, screaming in her mind about how pathetic and naive she is. This is the rock bottom she needed to hit. A top-down shot shows her tiny and vulnerable as the goblin approaches. It is the ultimate do-or-die moment for the noble lady. She is crying and clutching her chest, asking why with a voice full of regret. She is finally facing the consequences of her own ambition. The goblin leaps at her, club raised high for a killing blow. It looks like it is all over for Elente until something changes. A shadow falls over her face, and her expression shifts from fear to a chilling, dark determination. She starts to say something as her voice suddenly steadies. She looks up at the goblin with a sharp, lethal gaze, sweat dripping down her nose. The fragile lady is gone. Something much more dangerous has taken her place. She manifests a sphere of intense blue mana in her palm, the light illuminating her determined face. She has finally stopped running and started fighting. She unleashes the energy in a massive, swirling blast of blue power. She shouts with all her might, putting every ounce of her frustration into the strike. The goblin is caught right in the epicenter of the blast, its face contorted in shock as it is blown backward. Elente finally landed a hit. Derek watches from the shadows, a smear of blood on his cheek. He looks almost satisfied, noting that his brutal method actually worked. A glowing blue mana spear pierces through the goblin as it flies, pinning it into the wall with a sickening sound. Elente did not just fight. She won. Jaden lets out a long, tired sigh, wiping sweat from his brow. The ogre is defeated, and the immediate danger has passed. Pelaine looks over her shoulder with a silent, impressed gaze. She was worried about the fragile noble, but it seems she was wrong. Elente is slumped against the stone wall, gasping for air and looking absolutely wrecked. She is covered in soot and sweat, but she is still breathing. A close-up shows her struggling to catch her breath. The adrenaline is finally wearing off, leaving her totally exhausted. She stares at her shaking hands, the realization of what she just did finally hitting her. She actually killed a monster with her own magic. Derek walks up to her, his silhouette dark and imposing. He does not offer a hand, only watching her with those piercing red eyes. Derek looks down at her with a smudge of blood on his face, his expression as unreadable as ever. He has finished the lesson, and now it is time to move on. The screen goes white with the text that this is only the beginning. The real training is just starting and things are only going to get tougher. Elente looks up with a fierce, sweaty grin. She says that she is finally stepping forward. She has finally found the strength she was looking for. Stay tuned, because it is about to get even wilder.